Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening. I will now call the July 17th Select Board meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. Just as a quick reminder, we're not used to having this many people in the room, and I want to remind people that side conversations between attendees of the meeting can be very distracting for those around you. So if you need to converse with someone, if you wouldn't mind getting up and going out in the hallway to do so, just so everybody can hear everything clearly and not be distracted, we would really appreciate that. Okay, the Select Board will accept the agenda as printed with no changes. On to announcements. Rick?
Good evening. Just a reminder that the Select Board meeting is being audio and video recorded. Second announcement is an opportunity for us to recognize an employee who has, for 32 years, served the Nantucket Police Department and is retiring. Her name is Susan Gale. Susan, are you in the room? Suzanne, sorry. I know, sorry. Suzanne Gale? No? Well, then let me just say, we have a nice little plaque for her. It's all the Select Board, current Select Board noted, and the Town Manager, Libby Gibson. And I'll maybe give this to you, and you can figure out how to get it to her.
Thank you.
Yes, good evening. Thank you so much for this, and I'm accepting it on behalf of Suzanne Gale. She began with the police department in 1991 as a dispatcher, became a reserve officer, and ultimately became a full-time officer in 2003. And that's often the trajectory we see as people move into our full-time officer jobs. She obviously was known by many people in the community because she served as our animal control officer as well as an officer with the department. So we very much miss her already. Her last day was last month in June, and we gave her a nice send-off. So thank you so much, and we'll be sure to share your framed certificate with her. Thank you.
So, yeah. And I'll add my words of appreciation from the board for Susie's service to our community. I met her on a neighbor dog issue when I first moved to Nantucket, and she was really good at what she did. So we will miss her for sure. Okay, I'm going to note one more time that we are still advocating on behalf of our community with regard to the vessel strike reduction proposal. That would slow our ferry speeds and have significant impact on our community. And there is a link in the agenda for where one can send your thoughts about the impact of these proposed regulations on the lives and the economy of our community. So we continue to encourage everyone to make their views known. Committee vacancies?
Thank you. So we do have some committee vacancies left over from the annual appointments in June. They include the Capital Program Committee, Council for Human Services, Council on Aging, Cultural Council, Nantucket Historical Commission, Real Estate Assessment Committee, and the Town of Nantucket Scholarship Committee. Applications are due on Monday at noon. The applications will be added to the packet starting next week's agenda. It'll also be in the, it'll be the August 7th, no, this is an old one. Anyway, appointments are supposed to be made August 21st, so we'll be announcing the names for the next 2 weeks, starting next week. And all the information's online.
Thanks, Erica. Any other select board announcements or comments? Seeing none. We'll move on to public comment. As a reminder, for those of you who are not regular attenders, public comment is reserved for items not on the agenda. So because the Vineyard wind situation is on the agenda, we'll be taking public comment at that time. Other items, other public comment. Nothing?
And you
Okay.
have 2 hands raised.
Okay.
Burton
Spruce?
Balkine?
Burton Balkine?
Burton Balkine, can you hear me, Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Um, I have two comments. My first public comment is about public comments. I feel like sometimes public comment's a place where comments go to die. I'll hear someone ask a question, a public comment, and I'll never hear anything about it again in a public comment or a public setting. I'm sure you guys probably email or send out information, but it's not known to the public. And I was always told in school, if one person has a question, everyone has a question. So what I would ask is that I know there's a place in the agenda called follow-up comments from the last meeting. Is maybe if there's something you could do, say, hey, we sent Burton Balkine an email, and you don't have to get into, or we're still looking into the matter. Or if possible, at the meeting itself, you could actually answer it. There was one time when the town manager this last winter volunteered that she could answer a question. And the policy by the acting chair at the time was like, well, procedure is we don't answer during the meeting, which to me is, it's like, well, she can answer the question right now and everyone will hear it. I think it's a good idea. Anyways, I'll leave that. The other thing I wanted to mention in public comment section is the Conservation Commission. And I wanted to support Megan Perry's comments last week about how she felt about what happened with the the non-appointment of the chair. And I also would like to point to Mark Beal. He resigned this week, and he wrote words better than I could say. I'm going to briefly read him. He said, in all the years I've never witnessed a more concentrated effort by a select board to sabotage a well-functioning board. Your recent action of not reappointing two sitting chairs, Ashley Arsman and Ian Golding, plus an experienced attorney, Maureen Phillips, all very, very knowledgeable and all asking for reappointment, is beyond pale. And so in that, I also read comments that one of the reasons why the select board didn't reappoint the last chairman was because of decorum. So, I know what decorum is in context, but I looked that up. It says decorum is in keeping with good taste and propriety. And I feel like what's been happening lately with the Conservation Commission by the select board has not shown very good decorum. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you letting me say my piece.
Okay, thanks, Burton. Meredith Lepre is up next.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak. I just had two quick things. One is, I guess at the airport commission meeting last week, I think, they said that the noise was unfounded and that the puddle, the PFAS lake, as it's been called, were not really their issue, and that it wasn't noise from the South Apron project. So after a big rain, I would invite any one of you to come drive by the airport road. I also am welcoming any one of the select board to my house at 6 a.m. to hear the noise from the airport. My second concern is I just saw on Instagram, not an email, that the airport's going to be doing night work on the runways. And since I'm considered an abutter, I would have appreciated an email to me. Then it says the runway closest to my house and my neighbors' houses. And we got no information. Since you all appoint the airport commission, who then appoints the people that work at the airport or run the airport, I feel like you should know that they are continuing to be poor communicators. And I'm really tired of it. I just want to live in my house, have my kids run in my yard, and not have to worry about night work that's going to keep my kids up at night and myself. And I feel like it's just really poor form, maybe decorum, to not even notify the neighbors that this action is happening. So I would really appreciate if you guys could, I don't know, have your PR firm or somebody reach out to them and find out why they chose to just do this last minute and not alert anyone that lives around here. It's just goes to show that that's what their process is, because with the airport expansion and everything, they didn't send notice out to anyone, and they've continued to do the same thing. And it's really just, it's wrong. You've already poisoned us all, and now you're gonna keep us up all night at night tomorrow night, apparently, because you can't do the work. You don't want to disrupt all the private jets coming in. This is really ridiculous. So I I'm really unhappy that they're going to be doing noise work. I don't know that they have a permit from you guys or not, but really the neighbors should have been notified. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Update on Vineyard Wind blade failure and cleanup status. And this item was not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting, so that's why it was added to the agenda. And I'm going to ask the town manager who's online. Ms. Gibson, would you like to give an update from the town's perspective? And then we will invite the Vineyard Wind team to give us an update from their perspective.
Yes, thank you. At approximately 5 p.m. this past Monday, July 15th, I was notified by a Vineyard Wind representative of a blade failure of one of the turbines at the Vineyard 1 offshore wind farm, which evidently occurred on the immediately preceding Saturday. At that point, when we spoke, it was unclear what the impact on Nantucket would be. However, modeling that Vineyard Wind had undertaken indicated the potential for debris to wash up on Nantucket shores east of Myakomet. That, in fact, as we all now know, happened on Tuesday. We were in contact with Vineyard Wind representatives throughout Tuesday and into today as to cleanup efforts. The recent blade damage incident has been alarming and deeply disturbing to all of us in town government. The town neither owns nor operates a wind farm, so responding to this type of incident was uncharted territory for us. Public safety is always our top priority. That resulted in the unfortunate decision, but safe decision, to close our South Shore beaches to swimming on Tuesday, a decision not made lightly on a hot July day. Beaches were reopened to swimming today. We do continue to suggest that beachgoers exercise caution while in the water or on the sand. We would like to thank everyone, residents and visitors alike, who've aided in the recovery of debris from our beaches. We do want to let the public know, though, that Vineyard Wind is recommending that only its trained employees or contractors collect and remove the debris. And there are some reasons for that, which I think they will get into in a moment. We expect Vineyard Wind will be held accountable for all costs and associated remediation efforts incurred by the town in response to the incident. We have representatives tonight from Vineyard Wind and General Electric. I think I can't quite see everybody in the audience, but some are here in person and some are virtual, to provide updates on the incident and the debris recovery process, as well as to address public concerns. We are continuing to monitor the situation and provide outreach as additional information becomes available. And at this point, I would turn it back to you, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Libby. So I am going to ask the Vineyard Wind folks to give us an update from their perspective, and then what will happen after that is the select board will ask questions and make comments, and then after that I will take public comment. And I just want to remind the public that our normal policy is 3 minutes for public comment, and we will try to alternate between people in the room. And I think just logistically, I've asked the Vineyard Wind and GE teams to be near this microphone, and I'm going to ask the public to approach that microphone and line up there so that they have an access to, we're not struggling around each other at the microphone to be able to, for them to answer questions. And so I'm going to have them go now, and then we're going to try to hold to the 3 minute limit. We are going to hold to the 3 minute limit initially so that everybody has a chance to speak, and then I will allow people to come up for a second time to speak if they still have more to say. And I do want to encourage the public. I am fully aware of the frustration, fear, anger, and all of that, and I really offer the community an opportunity to communicate that to the Vineyard Wind team tonight, and they know this is why we're here. And however, saying the same things over and over and over again often is not necessary. While I also respect that people want to say what they want to say. So I'm just going to try to keep track of it and really offer the community an opportunity to speak on this terrible situation. So I don't know who from Vineyard Wind. Okay. And just as a reminder to folks to please identify yourself and for the Vineyard Wind team who they represent.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Klaus Skovsmoller. I'm the CEO of Vineyard Wind. I really appreciate this opportunity to be here and to answer questions from you and hopefully address any concerns. I'm joined here by members of my team, but also by General Electric, who is the manufacturer of the turbine. I want to echo what was already said here, that this is a very serious situation. I'm really truly sorry that this impacted your beautiful beaches here, and especially on a good day in July. So we are taking this very, very seriously, and I will go through in a minute how we have reacted to it, and of course we are open for input if we can do even more. I want to also start out, we've been going at this a few days now, so this happened Saturday night. I wanna acknowledge the incredible support we have gotten from people here in the room. I wanna acknowledge the town of Nantucket who reacted very diligently to this, the police department, also a land bank, and also the harbor master, who's really all done a great effort to recover this situation as fast as possible. And I'm also happy to note that swimming was allowed today, and we still have a big team, out there ready if we need to do more work. So I wanna move on to talk a little bit about what happened, and I know some of this is detailed, so I'm gonna keep it in a way that you know, to try to explain it high level. But if there's further questions, of course, there's the public comments where I'm fine to answer more questions. We also have General Electric here, who of course develops the turbine and installs the turbine, so they will be able to answer any questions as well of the more technical kind. So back to what happened. I learned about this Saturday night, where we had to react to alarm in the turbine. So a turbine has a very delicate censoring system. So when a thing like this happens, we of course receive notification and alarms. The situation is that one of the blades on one of the positions were broken and bended over, and was not pointing in direction that it should. The way the system acts, it's an automatic system, so the system actually shuts it down, and that's what happened here. Cecilia and other people from GE can talk to exactly how that works, but that's where our mind goes first, right? The safety of the people, the safety of vessels, the safety of the asset as well, so we don't have further damage. So how that works is that we have an emergency response plan that is activated. That's a detailed process where team members are appointed certain roles, and they start dealing with this problem. One of the first things we noted, luckily, was that no one got hurt. There was no one under the turbine or near the turbine when it happened. There was also no vessels, so also no damage to vessels. So that was the first check mark we did. Then we established, together with the Coast Guard, who was one of the first people or groups we notified, and we established a 500-meter safety zone around the turbine, so vessels or people cannot enter that zone. So the area is safe. You can say, right? So we of course then moved on. We started informing more people. There's a protocol for this, so we informed through the regions or the counties. We informed the first responders that needs to know this immediately. And then we started to assess the situation. All of this was done Saturday night, and very fast. The Coast Guard knew about this immediately after it happened, and we sent out mariner notices, because you of course need to make sure that everyone who is trafficking in the ocean knows about this. So that was the first step, the safety. Then, of course, we wanted to focus on what could the potential consequences be, right? And again, this was part of this was in the middle of the night, and the first focus we had was that there was already there. We knew there was debris in the water. Again, unfortunately, some of that debris was what ended up on the beach here. So we knew there were bigger pieces, and we focused on them, and got those secure. Those are now secure and are transported to New Bedford, where they're stored for analysis. The smaller pieces of debris, which is what some of them were smaller and bigger, but compared to the pieces we have in New Bedford, they were smaller. We tried to analyze with the current and the wind, where does it move, and we were analyzing that together with NOAA and trying to figure out where these things. This is a complex process. You have to take weather into consideration, the size of the debris. Luckily, we know that none of this debris is toxic, and there's no spill. Okay, we will.
Excuse me, please. Let the gentleman finish his presentation. You'll have time to ask questions.
So GE will be able to comment on exactly what the debris is. And we were monitoring that, and we started to inform more people about it. And as we knew some of it would come here, we started to plan for the recovery. The recovery process was, of course, something that we initiated without, that this is something that you have to react to the situation, and it's all happening in real time. So we engaged with local companies like Sean here next to me, who has helped a lot and has engaged in the debris collecting. It was, of course, important to get people here as fast as possible. So luckily, we had local workers that could be here, and also I must say where I'm really impressed by also the community here is that there's been volunteers trying to help with that and helping out removing all this debris. And I'm really sorry that it happened, but I'm also glad to notice that the response seems to have worked, and we have now gotten most of the debris out. But rest assured, we will not just leave this as it is now. We will monitor it. We will keep the whole team here as long as needed. And we will also engage with GE, and they're sending more people here. As we will make sure that none of this stays on the beach. And also, eventually, when it is collected, we will of course remove it from the island. So that was our response so far. The team has been here since Monday and have been trying to engage and answer questions. And I know they've talked to quite a few people. So the situation is that we've put a hotline in place. So there's a phone number which is available on our homepage. And as was mentioned by the board here, we ask people to actually react and call that number. We will respond as soon as we get any messages, and then we want people like Sean's company to actually go out and collect it, so it's 100% safe and the right equipment is used to recover it. So that is my opening statement here. I want to hand over to GE. Cecilia, if you want to, we actually have. Yeah, I'm sorry, but some of the GE team members were directed, so I think Roger is online. So if you want.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay, select
Yes.
members?
We can see your name, but if you would pronounce it for us as well, that would be helpful.
Sure. I think the name on the screen is actually not my name, and I apologize. My name is Roger Martella, Martella. And I want to apologize, first of all, for not being there in person. It wasn't for lack of effort. I woke up in Europe, I guess last night technically, where I was with one of our businesses, decided to come here as soon as possible. I was able to get to New York, battle those storms, get on a plane to Nantucket. We tried to land 3 times. We weren't able to land, so we just landed a few minutes ago here in Hyannis Port. And so I'm truly disappointed to not have the opportunity to be there in the room with you face to face. But I hope to be very effective in hearing your concerns, listening to the issues you want to raise that we take very seriously, and being able to address those to the fullest extent possible. Some of my colleagues are in the room there. I have a technical expert with me here as well. So we want to be very, we want to listen to your questions. We want to listen to your concerns. We want to be as responsive as we can. And thank you for giving us the time to be able to visit with you and for accommodating me here virtually here. And sorry if I'm a little fragile, just literally ran over from the plane to get up here to this conference room. I want to say, so I work for GE Vernova. GE Vernova, as mentioned, produces the turbines and the blades that are part of Vineyard Wind. We're one of the leading companies in the world when it comes to producing technologies for renewable energy, power, and electrification. And about a year ago, we located our headquarters in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Of all the places for a multinational company, we thought Massachusetts would really be the best home possible. So we take extremely seriously the impacts and the disruption to the community. This is our backyard. We feel that this is our community, and we really take seriously the impacts and the disruption. And that's what I'd like to talk to you about. I think you heard kind of how the response was from the time the blade vibrations were detected to the shutdown. I want to walk you through GE Vernova, if I may, with respect, just how we're prioritizing our response and our support, what's top of mind for us. And as I mentioned, I'm really here to listen. We're really here to address your questions to the extent we can and make sure we're here to support the community and have an open line of communications. The first thing that was most important to us and continues to be the most important is safety. Safety is always the most important thing. And so within, finding out that there was a disruption, there was a flag in the system, the safety systems went into place. We've created a containment zone, around the turbine to prevent people from going into an area that may be unsafe until the situation's addressed. We're thankful for the fact that no one's been injured. That's not the end of the story. But of course, safety trumps everything. It trumps everything today, will continue to trump everything and be the most important consideration top of mind for us. The second thing I would say is we do take very seriously the disruption. I can see a lot of people in the room. I imagine you're just a small percentage of the people who've experienced some disruption from this. And we take that very seriously. There's nothing more important to us as a company right now. There's nothing more important in this company. It's why I flew here unsuccessfully, but tried to make sure that we are being responsive to those of you who are seeing disruptions. We're working on this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm in regular contact with our CEO. He's offered to come directly as well as soon as he can. But we want to make sure we're prioritizing the disruption to the community, to our government colleagues, to our customer, and working very aggressively to address that to the fullest extent. I think the third thing we want to do is show our support. We want to be partners with you. We want to understand what your priorities are, and we want to understand how we can be most supportive to you and prioritize what your needs are, understand what impacts you're seeing, and how we can work in partnership to address those. The other thing we're doing is we're doing a root cause analysis. We want to understand the cause for this as quickly as possible. My colleague, Ranjit, can talk about that to the extent you have questions. We're moving that very aggressively. We're moving that with urgency and prioritizing at the same time, effectively a war room in upstate New York to do the root cause analysis as quickly as possible so we can have the understandings of this for the project, for the community, and for the government, and be able to share all that. And then the last thing I want to say is this is the beginning of our communications. We want to keep this open line of communications. We want to be directly available to you, to the media, to the community, to be able to answer your questions. We will tell you what we know, what we don't know, and how soon we may be able to figure those things out. But we look forward to hearing what everybody has to say today and the questions you have for us. So again, apologies for not being there in person. This was not my intent. I'm very disappointed to not be there in the room with you. Thank you for allowing me to join virtually here. And I'll look forward to continuing the discussion with you right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me. Sir? I explained, you may have arrived late. I explained the way this will happen is the select board will be offered the opportunity to ask questions and make comments, and then I will open it to public comment. Okay? So any questions, comments from the board first? Go ahead, Malcolm.
I have a lot of comments, but one thing that, obviously we're all troubled by this, but one thing that troubled me in your press release or whatever you said was non-toxic material. Well, it's not really non-toxic. It's a matter of definition. It's quite irritable. I had a case once of someone with fiberglass in their eye, and it wasn't very pretty. So that upsets me. I'm sorry. The whole thing upsets me, but I don't like your presentation of saying that it was a non-toxic event. It is toxic material.
Is that it for the moment? I'm going to hold. Do you have a question about that, or is it a comment? Because
That's a
I
comment.
want to kind of manage what's a question and what's a
Well,
comment,
I
so
would
that
call that
the
a
team needs.
I would call that a comment.
Okay, thanks, Malcolm. Don?
Yeah, obviously, wind farms exist all over the world, but this is new to us. I'm kind of wondering if the manufacturing of these particular windmills is the same as have been used in many other places, and how much incident there has been like this. Because what we're facing is, I don't think it was ever even quite on our radar. It was never discussed, sort of this physical impact that could happen. And if it became even a once a season event, it would be really detrimental to the island. You know, there was a lot of discussion about visual impact and potential sea life impact, but it never occurred to me anyway, that there would be material that's hazardous, whether it's, I mean, I know it's not oil, but it's sharp and maybe toxic in other ways, washing up on our beaches. And we're also facing an exponential risk if this were to continue, because many more windmills are planned to be built out there. And there's been a lot of concern about that throughout the community. So I don't know if somebody could address those questions.
So I will take that as a question. Does someone from your team, GE, want to respond to the question about prior incidents, other incidents, and the manufacture of these particular turbines, and the relative risk of them, I think, is what Don's asking.
Yes, and my colleague Ranjit will probably have some comments too. Let me just say at the outset that we set the highest expectations for the reliability of our turbines, and we stop at nothing to meet those high expectations. We are doing the root cause analysis right now. I agree with the comment that a failure like this once a season, or even less often than that, is unacceptable, and we deem that unacceptable. And that's the purpose of our root cause analysis, is to ensure that this doesn't happen again. And that's exactly what we're doing. So Ranjit, do you want to maybe just kind of explain what we're doing through the root cause analysis to prevent this from reoccurring?
And if this gentleman could give us his first and last name for our public record as well, please. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, I have a follow-up question after that.
You are muted, sir.
My apologies. We're trying to get the technology working here, as unexpectedly landed here. My name is Ranjit. First name is Ranjit.
Excuse me, just a second. Just a second, sir. Please, from the audience, let people speak. Everyone will have their opportunity to speak. I know tensions are high here, and I really want everyone to be able to hear everybody and hear what they say. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so sorry. My name is Ranjit, Renjith, first name. Viripullan, Viripullan.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I'm part of GE Vernova, leads the fleet engineering division of Wind. Again, to address the first question, this is our offshore turbine, and that's the incident we are talking about.
Sir, it seems your internet is excuse me, your internet is unstable.
Ranjit, come join me in the room here. Just use my computer. You're not getting picked up. Come in the room.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, please, the comments from the gallery really
Probably.
try to rein it in, okay, guys? Okay, here we go.
Let
Go
me know
ahead, sir.
if this is clear.
Yes, now we can hear you. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah. So this is our offshore unit, and this is also the 107-meter rotor what we are discussing for Vineyard. We do not have this experience. I mean, if you look at onshore, there are a lot of onshore wind turbines out there. So, yeah, I mean, this is why we are looking at this issue very carefully. Like Roger said, the first thing what we started is setting up a war room team in Schenectady, upstate New York, because we will and we are going through every details of production of this unit, transportation, installation, until the operation, so that we can get into the basic root cause for this. And we are like 48 hours plus one more day into this investigation. So it is early for us to comment based on what we have seen so far. But I can assure you that our team is pulling together manufacturing details, pulling together the operational details, transportation details, as well as installation details on this unit.
Okay, thank you. Malcolm?
Yeah, now I do have a question.
Okay.
It's just following up on Dawn, because I'm not quite sure her question was answered. I'm sure there are statistics available of the number of failures, onshore, offshore. Those numbers I'm sure you have available. It's some percentage, it's something per year, something per month, something per total windmills in the world. Those must be available, and I would love to see those.
We focus on reliability factors, the extent to which the turbines operate at their kind of nameplate standards. Something like this is highly unusual and rare. And when something like this happens, we do this root cause analysis to see what kind of adjustments may need to be made, because this is not an acceptable outcome, and it's not something we ever want to see repeated again. And so it's not always possible to have those types of comparisons, because if this happens, we hope it's one thing we've learned from and it's fixed going forward. But we can look to share reliability information with you on our fleet if helpful.
Okay, thank you. We will anticipate receiving information on reliability from you.
Yeah, so I'm sort of with Malcolm. Has this happened somewhere before? That's a yes or no. Like, has this happened, and where?
That is what I asked.
Yeah, that's what I know, and so I'm trying to.
Madam Chair, I mean, I'm sure the statistics aren't wonderful, but they exist. And I know a little bit about analyzing data. If someone could just give me the number of windmills that fail in the world, how often, et cetera, and even this particular brand or other brands, I will accept it may not be statistically pure. I'd just like to see the information.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is important for us as a community to understand the risk of these wind farms to us, given this incident. And also, I mean, I hear you saying this is a unique circumstance, but I also hear my fellow board members saying there are windmills all around the globe, and there has to be information about how frequent windmills in general have failed, not just this design of a windmill. And I think that is the question that is being asked of you. And hopefully you'll be able to return back to us with specifics on that. Is that clear?
Yeah. We understand the question, and we will follow up with you on the information you're looking for. And I'm not trying to avoid an answer. There's just, I don't have the information in front of me. There's complexity with different models and things. So we want to be fully responsive to you. So thank you for the question, and we will follow up.
Okay, understood.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll take all models.
Okay.
And I'll make a clarification. I don't want to know how many failed because the turbine in it is faulty, or some, the electric came undone, or, some other, a burr, or whatever, something else happened to it. I want to know how many blades of this size had this level of failure. Is that something that happens, 1 in 10 million, 1 in 10,000, 1 in 100? I don't know. Like, I'd like to know about that. The other stuff we need to know too, but for this incident, I don't want it to be lumped into a bunch of data and the data be meaningless. It needs to be something that we can actually understand.
Okay, thanks,
Thank
Matt. Just as a reminder, we'll take public comment after the select board has finished asking questions and commenting. Tom? Do you have a comment? Tom?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I have a couple questions for CEO Mueller of Vineyard Wind. I understand that approximately a little bit under 3/4 of the turbine, the broken blade remains. I'm curious about the recovery efforts to dislodge that from, and if there's any risk of that adding more debris to the ocean. My second question would be, how long do you expect any debris to wash up for, based on, I think you're doing modeling on that, based on tides, I would guess, and based on my meeting with Avangrid this morning. And my third question would be, are you trucking the debris off island? And I'm assuming that is something that you're doing. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question. These are very relevant. I will ask for Roger and Regit to supplement on what I'm saying here. On your first question, member, that's right. There's a part of the blade that is hanging there, and we are working hard on a recovery plan. And I'll hand over to Roger and the team to comment on that. The focus we have is the safety around it. So I want to emphasize, I said it before, there's a 500-meter safety zone around it. Actually, we decided together with GE to stop the wind farm, not only operating, but also construction. And so there's no operating activity, no blades turning out there at the moment. That was later followed up by an order by BESI, that is the agency that looks after safety offshore, and they've asked us to do what we've already done, stopping the turbine and stopping the turbine construction. I know your question was more on the recovery. This is a huge blade, right? It's 107 meters long. It weighs about 70 European tons. And it's an undertaking to do that, and I know GE is working on that. So I'll hand over on question number one in a minute. You're right on the second question in terms of the debris. We are modeling very carefully where debris will move. For now, there's a controlled situation, and we don't expect a lot of more debris to come from this situation. As it happened Saturday night, and we are now sort of seeing the impact of that, right? But to be sure, we have engaged a vessel out there that is normally used to oil spill situations, so it has a big boom, so it can recover. And of course, GE is working on other measurements when the blade comes down. And I'll let them comment to that. On your third question, we will take the debris off the island. We are working with the contractors on that. It's actually very important debris because it will help inform the root cause. And again, I'll echo what the GE team said, that we really need to spend some time now analyzing what caused this. And we know some things, but they will analyze more. And when we know that, we will be better informed. And part of that is how this debris looks. I'll hand over to you, Roger.
Thank you. And I think you want to discuss how we're handling, again, with safety as the number one priority, we can discuss how we're managing the blade that's there at the site.
Yeah, I mean, as we see, looking at our team was looking at all the details of remaining portion of the blade. And what we see from the assessment, there is still a large portion of the blade which is still not down. So we are looking at a controlled process in order to take that blade down. Basically, we have to take the remaining portion in a controlled way so that we can take the remaining shell, and then we have to unbolt the root. So that's the basic technical process. So today, our team is looking at that process so that we can move on and put the plan together on how do we get the debris, catch the remaining piece so that we can transport that offshore. So the plan is being written down as we speak. Most of the debris, what we see on the beaches, are the internal part of the blade. The shell part, we will take it in a controlled fashion.
Okay, thank you. I have questions about the health hazards of the material, and recognizing your use of the word toxic, to me that implies sort of chemicals. So I have two questions. Were any chemicals released as part of this break from the turbine? And my second question is, I think our community would like to understand the risk of fiberglass particles in the water where we are swimming and where we are fishing, and how the impact on our sea life. But as or more importantly, our family members who are swimming and perhaps ingesting seawater, and what is the likelihood that that seawater contains fiberglass fragments that, you know, to Dr. McNabb's point, could be a serious health hazard outside the use of the term toxic specifically. So I don't know who wants to answer that question. Okay, go ahead. I think you guys from GE have been assigned that question.
Well,
let
I'll
me
add to
begin.
it. Does it include PFAS in when they make it? You know,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
used to extrude things, you know, to extrude and make things.
Okay, so I don't know if you heard Malcolm's add-on question about the use of PFAS in the manufacturing process and whether there's any risk of that being released.
Thank you for the question. And again, I'll turn to you on the concern about the fibers and about PFAS. And we certainly do recognize and understand the concerns. Fiberglass, foam, regardless, we understand the concerns about it being on the beach, being near the beach, and our efforts to mitigate any kind of exposure. And maybe you could talk about kind of the risk from the particles and the PFAS question.
Right, and if you look at the materials involved in, right, and we have in the blade construction material, we have glass fibers, we have foam in nature, and then we have balsa wood, and that's pretty much the construction material, and then it is bonded together using the bond paste. So if you look at this, pretty much the construction material we would see in a boat construction, that is what we would see in wind turbine blade. So that's the correlation we need to think about. And all of this material now is in a complete format. So, you know, we see this as inert material at this moment because the bonding process happened. It is a finished product specific to PFAS, and we are reviewing all the material data together with our manufacturing team, and we would take that question back and we would come back with the answer.
No one understands a word you say.
Okay, so we're having difficulty understanding you, and I just, perhaps I can repeat back what I heard you say, that there are materials that are bonded together in the process and that you consider it an inert material. And you have not answered the question about the use of PFAS, is how I heard you, and you said you would get back to us.
Correct.
On the use of PFAS in the manufacturing project, and if there's a risk of that having been released into the water. Any other oils, chemicals, or anything like that that would have been released from the turbine, you know, from its mechanical elements due to the stress of this incident? Is there anything in that realm?
No, we have completed our review related to that. The incident is only related to the blade. We looked at all the detailed drone photographs so far. So there is no other impact onto the turbine, on any other mechanical components. So we don't see any evidence so far on any other component released into the water at this moment.
Okay, and I'm going to go back to the question of the 500-foot perimeter. Is that a 500-meter perimeter that you've established? I understood that to be a no entry boating perimeter. It is not a barrier. Is it a barrier for debris should something happen with the remaining blade, or is it? Do you understand my question? earlier you said you set up a 500-meter perimeter for navigation, and then it was repeated that part of the dealing with the remaining blade was a 500-meter perimeter. Should that thing fall in the water, do you have the ability to prevent it from arriving on our shores?
Yes, I'll answer that, and then maybe I can hand over to G again if there's more details to it. So you're right, Chair, that there's a 500-meter zone around the particular turbine, and what that means is mostly navigational, right? So we make sure that there's no vessels or people entering the area. So that's the main purpose on that. It is marked on the sea maps to prevent any risks there. And then to your question, how do we then make sure that there's not more debris moving in sort of in a way we don't want it to? We hope that the recovery plan is put together very soon, so we can do it in a controlled manner. But in the meantime, we've adopted this vessel with a boom, and of course, it's hard to guarantee that will catch everything. But to answer your question specifically, there's not a fence right now, but it is something that we're looking into, whether you can have a net or something that you can establish the zone more safe. I don't know, Roger, if you want to comment on this as well.
Yeah, I think that you covered that pretty well. It is a safety, which is mainly to the access with respect to debris demolition part of the remaining part of the blade. And we are looking at making sure that it doesn't go with the tide.
Okay, thanks. As with all of these things, I'm going to keep reiterating that immediate and efficient communication as you learn new things should be sent to our community. We're asking questions that you don't have answers for. I don't want to wait a week to get a bunch of answers. I want, as soon as you know something, I would like your team to be communicating with our community so we can share that information on an ongoing basis. So just as a general comment. Any other questions or comments from the board? Matt?
Yeah, just a comment. Your dispersion model that's online shows most of this landing sort of on our south shore, south and sort of east of the island. A lot of friends today were sending pictures from Nantucket and some pictures from the North Shore. So I would suggest when you're looking at cleanup, that the cleanup is west and going around the island now. You may know that, but I think it's important. And I hope that would that be included? You're going to pick it up no matter where it is? All right.
So I'm going to repeat. We will not let this go. We will be here until this job is done, and whatever beach it is, we will clean it up. So that's a positive. Yeah.
If you want to stay at the mic, I'm going to ask you another question. You are, as I understand it, you're wanting to collect every piece of debris that is found, and part of the reason for that is to analyze relative to what went in the water, what has been found, to give an indication of what's left out in the ocean. And I'm wondering if you have any information yet as to what percentage of the blade loss has been recovered.
We know that we have recovered about 2 cubic meters, I think, Sean, is that right? Yeah. So that is now stored. I'll let G comment on how that models to what was actually released. But again, we are doing, of course, the beach surveys and making sure we will have, even when there's nothing here anymore, we will have persons there every morning looking at all the beaches and making sure that everything is collected, right? We are also trying to do from boats, but also from the air, if there is debris that we can save. And I know it was not a question, Mr. or Dr. McNabb, but I didn't mean with the word toxic, I didn't mean to imply that it was not serious or in some ways dangerous. I just meant that it was not a spill of oil or a substance like that. I am aware this is very serious, and that's why we want to recover everything. On the percentage, Roger, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, just on the percentages, we the next step, what we need to do to clearly come to the percentages to weigh the debris we have collected, looking at all the detailed pictures of the remaining portion of the blade. What we see is most of the blade is still up there. So this is why we want to weigh the debris so that we can certain that what percentage debris is collected and how much debris are remaining.
Okay, I'm just going to say, for me, and I think for the folks I'm looking at, this is of huge concern. What is the remaining risk of what has already gone in the ocean? So that would be a priority for me and the community to get that analysis as soon as possible. Okay, Matt?
Yeah, I assume this is just sort of, someone called me today, it's kind of crazy, but I assume there's lightning rods of some type on these towers, and those are grounded to the ground. I'm assuming, is that true? You know, how is lightning dealt with? Because I looked, you know, when you have like a fiberglass rake or a fiberglass something that breaks, it doesn't come apart. It's like, it's so solid, and that isn't near as heavy duty as these are. And it's got long fibers and it doesn't want to come apart the way it's made. But I look at the debris coming up on our beaches and it looks like it's kind of exploded. It looks like it's in a bunch of pieces. And I wonder, how would something like that happen? And so, you know, and if it wasn't a bomb or someone didn't fly into it or something, what could happen? And so one person said, could it have been lightning? And on Saturday night, there was a lot of lightning off of the island. There was some storms and some stuff going through. And so I'm asking, was an incident like that? Or was this something that when these do fail, and I've been sent information that there's a certain amount of 700,000, 3,000 have failed or something on a Google search someone did. But when they do fail, do they fail like this? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Any evidences of lightning, and it is part of our investigation. Normally, when we see lightning, we should see evidences of burn marks. So this is what we are looking at in all the remaining portions. Now, to answer your question, yes, there is a lightning conductor on the blades, so that we can take any lightning impact can be minimized. The next step for us is, and this is why the remaining particles are important for us, the remaining portion of the blades are important for us, so that we can look at any burned marks. To your point, that would be an indication of lightning. And so far, we have not seen that. Our team is collecting the evidences related to that.
I want to follow up. Do we know if this fell in an extraordinarily large piece and was broken up by ocean action, or did it go into the ocean in pieces? And do you know anything about that yet?
We do not have evidences whether it fell as a large piece. However, from the debris collected, it is the internal structure of the blade. That's what we see as a debris. We have seen large portions came down. And then, like you said, because of the ocean action, we have also seen smaller debris coming to the beaches.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from the board before I open to public? Tom?
Mr. Martello, quick question. Is there any state or federal oversight, as it being the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, et cetera, oversight and a requirement for them to file a report, or you to file data with them, and then to basically have an incident report or something like that will eventually be produced?
Thank you for the question. I think the general answer is yes. I can't give you the details, but I'm aware that they are engaged on this. We are collaborating with them, and I anticipate that we will have discussions on the root cause analysis, on the follow-up, and engagement with them. So I don't want to speak to the details, because I'm not sure the specific regulations and requirements, but I think it's fair to assume that the federal government, including BOEM that you mentioned, we'll have regulatory oversight on the follow-up and the root cause analysis and engagement with us directly on this.
Okay, please keep us posted. Thank you.
We will. Thank you. And we are keeping track of all the follow-up questions where we have things to get back to you, and we take the chair's requests very seriously to make sure we're communicating in real time. We'll get you information as soon as we have it. I think some of these questions we'll be able to get back to you very quickly.
Yeah, thanks, Roger. So it's a really good question, and we are very detailed regulated, and it is the agency that you mentioned, the bureau, or the BESI, as I sometimes call it. They reacted very fast, and we are under obligations to inform them immediately when things like this happen. They have, as I said, we reacted by shutting down the wind farm ourselves, but they have repeated that in a suspension order at this point. By the way, they've also issued a preservative order where we need to store all the material we were talking about. So offshore wind is a new industry, and the agency is obviously still learning, but they reacted really fast and sent already Tuesday a team to the site in New Bedford, that's where we store the blades and all the rest of the components before they go to site. And they have been going through a process with me involved and other of our experts involved, and have analyzed the situation very detailed, and I expect them, they're finalizing today. Tomorrow they will then move to the onshore substation, which is located in Barnstable, where they will look at the communication information. So what happened, minute for minute when this happened, and whether the system reacted correctly. Because one of the things that is also important is that this is an event on a specific turbine, but there's also a link to the grid, of course, right? So we need to also be very careful on that, and that has all went as the system should, but they want to analyze that from minute for minute. Then their request is very linked to the root cause, so very much what caused this, and good input from everyone here on what the possibilities are. And when they have reviewed that, they will then move to the next step, which is maybe clearing operation and construction at some point.
So don't say. So I know that for myself, and I know from the community, I think one of our greatest concerns was that 48 hours, we didn't hear anything for 48 hours. And your folks communicated to us that according to to your regulatory protocols, the agency that you reported to was an emergency response agency for multiple counties that's located on the Cape. And I think that while from wherever everybody is, that might seem fine, but clearly it was not, because I want to express that this community would have been much better prepared in terms of communicating to our residents about the impending risk before it became an actual risk with debris on our beaches. And the failure of notifications, I mean, I'm hearing that people heard different things and that some people were informed here and there, and really our ability to respond as a community and communicate effectively to our residents was hampered greatly by the delay in that communication. And I recognize that your statement is that you followed your regulatory requirements, and I just want to state for the record, it was inadequate for this community, and hopefully you can answer as to how that would be different in the future.
Yes, Chair Moore, I recognize that. We've gotten that feedback from the town also, that it's very important with communication. And let me just emphasize that is next to safety, that is the most important thing, that people do get information. We want to be very transparent. We want to make sure that people get advance notice. So there's really no excuse. We need to well inform you. We did, as you said, follow the protocol and inform, because in the hours of when an emergency or an event like this happen, it's very important, as you talk to, that you control the communication, because there might be misunderstandings or it's a safety situation. So you want to control it, and that's why there is actually a protocol which we followed. But I recognize that we want to move much quicker and make sure that we learn from this and make sure that everyone is informed.
You now know how to reach us directly.
Yes, I have
For
a bunch
sure.
of phone numbers now.
So, okay, so if the board is done commenting or asking questions, I am going to open to public comment. And I want to just remind everybody, just a second, I'm going to ask people to line up at that microphone so that the respondents can be available at that one. Okay, I'm going to give a little minute for the movement. So two of you can't speak simultaneously, and I'm assuming the community is going to ask questions. So I'm going to ask for one line. We can take people one at a time. That's all we can do. We're not having people speak two at a time at microphones. So it will go as quickly with one mic as it will with two, okay? And then we are going to alternate between someone present at the mic and an attendee online. And I will remind everybody, our policy is 3 minutes. I have a timer here. I'm going to give you like a 10-second, this is, wrap it up and be reminded that you will have an opportunity to queue up again, but I want to give everybody an opportunity to speak once before people speak multiple times. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So I'm going to take the gentleman at the mic now. Please be reminded to state your name for the record, for the minutes, and then I will take the first online attendee after that, who is Anastasia Lennon. So first, this gentleman.
My name is Rob Frame, and I'm going to try and get 50 years in 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
This is my first time appearing before this board, and just obviously that they have the lectern and we don't have a lectern, so maybe next time that can be different. We can both have lecterns, all right? I don't know, yeah. So, the word toxic came up in the discussion here. Just as an aside, my family was exposed to toxic chemicals. I lost my mother, I lost my father, I lost my sister. So there has to be chemicals in those blades somewhere. What they are, I don't know. There's been a lot of talk here about debris on the beaches. Been very little talk about the creatures that we all love who live in the water. And that's pretty much my comments. I've lived here for 52 years. I have a home that I helped build in Cisco Beach, and that's where I live presently. I'm a shore fisherman, surfer for over 70 years, all up and down the East Coast. In all those years, I have never witnessed an environmental disaster as I have in the past 3 days. You all remember the Exxon oil spill, the disaster, and those photographs and those pictures about those birds being washed with, try to get the oil off, right? So I'm horrified to think about what's happening and going to continue to happen to our fisheries. You're going to hear a lot about that tonight. And maybe a few Nantucket seagulls will be affected because, Nantucket seagulls, they'll eat anything. Think about the whales that are gulping down swarms of krill, schools of squid, and the whales are going to say, these taste a little different than they did a couple of days ago. Think about the striped bass, bluefish, bonita, albacore, where they feed and they attack very indiscriminately on what they're eating. They're going to say, something tastes a little different here. When the first dead fish washes up on the beach of our shores, you're going to understand that this disaster has had a great impact on the island of Nantucket. Let me close by suggesting maybe we invite Nat Philbrook and Ronnie Howard to come back and write a sequel to what would be called The Disaster to the Heart of the Sea. And the villains are the good neighbors of Vineyard Wind.
Thank you. Erica, you want to invite Ms. Lennon to?
Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Anastasia Lennon. I'm a reporter with the New Bedford Light, and I have two questions for GE and Vineyard Wind. The first being, there was a Haliade X turbine. It seems to also be the same model, 13 megawatts, that suffered some damage during an incident in Dogger Bank. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, in the UK. And I just wanted to get more information on the root cause analysis on that, and if GE was able to determine what happened with that blade, and if they think anything might be related to this blade and what happened here. And second, Vineyard Wind spokesperson had said this blade that was damaged had been a replacement blade that was installed after another blade had been damaged during the lifting process. So I was also seeking more information on that, if the replacement blade was part of a different manufacturing batch, and also just how that initial blade had been damaged during installation.
Okay, thank you for those questions. GE team? Okay.
Thank you for the
Martella?
question. This is Roger Martello. We are aware of the Dogger Bank situation. We do have the assessment that was an installation issue unique to the installation of that blade. We haven't, as we've discussed, completed the root cause analysis on this, but we don't think there's a connection between that installation issue and what we saw here in Vineyard Wind. So we see those as very likely disconnected. In terms of any impact from this being a replacement blade, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I do not have the specific details on the replacement blade at this moment.
Okay. Again, please get back to us on that question.
Sure.
Okay.
My name is Artie Schwab, and with Rob, I also live out in Cisco Beach. There's obviously a lot of concerns, but considering that this debris came in and hit a majority of the beaches, obviously we're in July, the kids are here, adults are here, people are swimming. God forbid there was something that happened, okay? Somebody got hurt, or unfortunately, I never want to think about it, or a tragedy with this debris coming in and somebody got hit in the head with fiberglass or what have you, okay? The select board has to look at the liability to the town, okay? And even personally and individually at the select board, that you made this decision, okay? Which could be the worst decision the select board's made. I mean, this person made a comment that, oh, I knew it was going to affect visual and wildlife. The fact that you made the decision to approve it, knowing that it affects wildlife, is kind of bizarre, right? And you said, oh, I never thought that the debris would come up, and that would be an additional thing that we didn't consider. But if you voted yes, okay, when it affected fish and wildlife, and if you talk to, the fishermen, I talked to Peter Kaiser today. Everyone in this room knows Peter Kaiser. He said it's a complete disaster. Okay, so I think it's incumbent for you guys to, step back in a room at your private meeting and blow this thing up. Because think about this, they just put it in, okay, and we've already had this disaster. What's next? Now they're talking about putting a curtain around it to protect debris falling off. So they're probably anticipating debris falling off, okay? And they don't even have a permit to put it in, okay? Are you gonna say yes to them putting this wall in order to protect debris risk? Okay, and harm wildlife going forward, okay, and interrupting the boulders and everything else. You got to stand up and take responsibility for a really bad decision, all right? And you got to change this, okay? If not, you should all resign, all right? Thank you very much.
Okay, wait a minute.
Thank you for your comment. I'm gonna let Dawn.
I need to set something very important straight, is we did not make a decision to approve this. This was not within our purview. The federal government.
Everybody, please,
all right, enough.
please.
We negotiated.
Excuse me.
It's not going to be about.
John, just a second. Excuse me. Protocol is you speak, and the other. I do not accept. Excuse me. Not talking over another person, please. Thank you. I'm really trying to give everyone an opportunity to be heard and not have a free-for-all, a verbal free-for-all here. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, So Dawn, did you want to finish your comment?
I'm just tired of the characterization that we had a choice in these land leases that were done by the federal government. We negotiated an agreement to try to somehow soften the impact to the community. And I know it certainly doesn't feel like anything's been softened right now. And everyone up here is just as upset as everybody else in this room that this has happened. But to think that we had a select board meeting and decided to build wind turbines out in the ocean, we did not.
Okay, so I'm going to leave. Excuse me. I appreciate.
He's helping us. He's supporting us.
I know. He's, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That doesn't.
And whether it's supporting us or not, please, I really want to keep things as orderly as possible tonight. And I want everyone to have an opportunity to speak. And the more time I spend talking to people about protocol, the less time people have to speak. So we are now at the next person online. Erica, Noah Singer has their hand up. And if I get out of order on
Noah, you
online
need
versus in the
to
room, holler at me.
Unmute.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Noah, go ahead.
Hi, so I conducted my graduate research in Nantucket's ecosystems at BU for marine biology, and I have a follow-up question regarding your points on microplastics, the chair of the board. I felt that the answer was fairly lacking. I was wondering if somebody could clarify if there has been water testing done on the waters that are coming towards Nantucket to see if there are microplastics in the water or microfibers or fiberglass splinters. And if you have done that, what the particle sizes are and how much plastics are in X unit of water. And if you haven't.
Thank you. I think that's an excellent question, and I'll ask the folks from Vineyard Wind if they've done any water quality analysis.
Thanks for the question. We have not done that yet. That's definitely on our list of things we will take from this meeting and consider.
Okay.
No, for sure
Please,
not.
no talking. Thank you. Okay. This gentleman, and if I don't remember who you are and call you by name, my apologies. It's pretty stressful up here tonight. So
Okay,
go ahead, just please state your name for the record.
Bill Jennings. I guess I have a couple of comments and then one or two questions. First of all, I think it's really important that everyone realizes that offshore wind will generate a total of 1% additional power. 1%. Okay? So we're going through all this for 1%. To give companies like this gentleman offshore tax credits so that they can defer revenue at our expense. So I just want to make it crystal clear what's going on here. As far as you all saying that you didn't have any opportunity to defend this or to bring this out in the open, that is at best disingenuous, okay? Because this deal was done without anyone knowing about it and without having a town meeting, without utilizing the resources that are on this island. This island has some extremely high-level talented people that live here, as well as a lot of wealth on island. And for $16 million, and for a lot of other people that could have had potential contacts to defer something like this, it went from the Sound out to the South Shore. That didn't happen by mistake, okay? So please, save the disingenuous comments. Also disingenuous, I think, is GE sitting here saying, I knew Jack Welch. You're not a part of this community. You're far from a part of this community. And he would laugh at you if you ever said something like that. So why are you telling us, now, hang on, Brooke, why are you telling us now about something that happened a month ago off the coast of England when you knew that information, and it's the exact same manufacturer. It's the exact same product that we've just had an issue with here. Why didn't you lead with that and lead with all the information regarding that issue and what you did to fix that issue? I mean, come on, Klaus, like, this is what you should have been leading off with. Okay, this is not a one-off issue, folks. We're putting enormous structures in an ocean 100 feet through the bed of the water. Come on, this is math. This is statistics. This is for 1% to industrialize our oceans. So I would like to hear from Klaus exactly what happened in England, exactly what's been done on that site, and how you're going to, what you learned from that and what you're going to do differently here, now, and going forward.
So
Thank you.
thank you for that comment, and I believe that the Vineyard Wind team has heard that question and understands that we want an answer to that question. Okay, yep, because it was asked before. So, okay, next up, Diane Coombs online.
Hi, can you hear me? Brooke?
Yes, go ahead, Diane.
Okay, I am again very taken back by this accident. This thing happened. It was the turbine wasn't even under work yet. There was a trial. I would like to know how it separated from the other two. Did it fall? Was it knocked over? Did it break off? I don't know. I think we should know how it disenjoined itself from the top. I think, and I heard, as Matt mentioned, that they have found things down on Swiss Point, Nantucket, and around to the North Shore. When you have fiberglass in the water, where there are fish and that we eat, and our fishermen make their money doing that, catching, and you have a potential of having the fish involved, inducted, all the splinters and the rest of the stuff from the broken blades. What is this? Has that ever been tested before? Because they eat everything. The whales eat whatever they can. You find them in their stomach. The same with the seals and the rest of it. Are we making the whole South Shore a potential spot of rotten fish? I think we should know very much what the condition of our fish and harbor bottom or water bottom is. The flukes that sit right on the bottom, flounders, eels, we have everything you could imagine. To keep this a fishing place for people to make money fishing, then we ought to supply a clean area to do so. And we have not. And the turbine companies, all of them know what they do. I have been part of fighting listening to it, the channel between Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard and everything else. And the agreement, I believe, with the turbine companies and the town of Nantucket, they didn't say we're going to go build it, but they agreed to let it go. It could have gone to fight. People of our town are fighting now. And I was told by a member of the Board of Selectmen that they couldn't fight the agreement. Well, it seems that they could, and I think that was important.
Okay,
to
Diane.
cover. That's it. Done.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Val?
Hi, thanks, Val Oliver. So like this has been for the 6 years I've been dealing with it, Mr. Mueller, we've met in court a few times. This endeavor is a learn as we go experience. We are the guinea pigs of this industry. And if I'm not mistaken, these are the largest turbines ever built. So of course there's no information on failure and how they perform because they're just getting built now. Obviously the ones in England failed before this one. And now we're seeing the result of that. I'm thankful, actually, that this was the incident. It's a warning, and it was not lethal, and no one was seriously hurt. But it's a forewarning of what is the plan that's in place for when these environmental missteps take place. And they'll inevitably happen because of where we are. There hasn't been a hurricane. There hasn't been any sort of, I don't know, whale strike, anything to cause this. So it is of the utmost concern. Having read the construction and operation plan, thousands of pages of data that really prove nothing, certify nothing, and provide nothing for us to see, what is the guarantee that there is a plan in place? You're kind of good at saying nothing in a whole lot of words. BOEM, really, in my mind, is seriously responsible because they are the people who permit this to happen, and they permit it with virtually no data, no evidence, nothing. And just so it's clear to everyone here, they have also waived the financial assurance requirement for 15 years down the road. So when we need to decommission them, that's going to be an interesting challenge for this town. And everybody else has said pretty much everything I wanted to say before, so thank you for listening.
Thanks, Al. Okay, going online, Larry Vaughn's next.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Great, thank you for your time. Larry Vaughn, he, him. I'm with KMS Insider. I have a couple of comments and a couple of questions, if I may. I'll be very quick. I totally agree with the
Could you clarify what your organization is for us, please?
I'm an online blog that follows environmental disasters such as this.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking. So, totally agree with a lot of what the constituents are saying. I think we have to heave ho and get rid of these wind farms before there's further damage to the wildlife and to us as human beings. Also, I'd like to recognize I was out on a couple of the beaches today. I was on Nantucket. I was at Tom Nevis, so I apologize I can't be there in person, but there were a lot of very dedicated volunteers out here looking for debris, keeping an eye out for things. So just a couple of people that I would like to recognize: Justin Trudell, Matt Hooper, Sam Quint. These people that are just taking time out of their life to make sure things are safe for us. Last weekend, there was a flare gun dispatched in the harbor, and this was past high noon. This was one David Portnoy, apparently. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. My question, first one, if someone were to shoot a flare at any time of day or night, and it was to land on some of this foam, is it going to start a fire?
Okay,
And the second is,
Mr. Vaughn, can we stick to the topic at hand, please?
okay, well, I thought that pertained because there's debris on the beach, and this has to do with the debris. So, Mr. Miller, you just stated, I believe, that there was 2 cubic yards of debris that has been picked up. According to WCVB, Channel 5, byline David Cullinane, there was a 17 cubic yards that was picked up. This was quoted by Vineyard Wind Farms. So can you clarify how much debris has actually been picked up? 17 or 2? Thank you for your time.
Do you all have an answer to that question? Okay.
You need to get to the mic, please.
Yep.
Hello, so I'm Sean Larson. I'm, some of you probably seen me around. I am with Robert B. Auer Company. I was called in to help out with the cleanup on this immediately. Obviously, it's part of my community too. We just moved here from Texas ourselves. So with the amount of material that we have 2 dumpsters sitting at the location where we're keeping it secured. The amount that we have right now, I have pictures of it. It's roughly the foam, we're looking at probably 6 yards of cubic yards of material. Mr. Mueller here talked about it was 2 cubic meter yard or cubic meters. So that's obviously a little bit different. So it's 6 yards of foam that we have. As far as the fiberglass goes, it's a lot less. It's maybe a yard and a half of fiberglass that we have right now currently.
So as I understand, the caller's question is, apparently there's a discrepancy in reporting. So you're confirming that those are the accurate numbers for
Yes.
the record as
Yes,
to what has
the
been?
numbers that was spoke there by the caller, I'm not sure where those come from. Sounds like maybe some math was misconstrued there, but.
Okay.
Yep. So that would have been yesterday's numbers, which would have been very incorrect.
Okay, and just to clarify, we have asked for the following information for everyone who may be tuned in a little bit later. We have asked Vineyard Wind and their team to report on the volume of material that has been collected and what percentage of the volume of material that was lost with the blade that snapped off. In other words, what's left, what has not been found. I will reiterate that that's a critical piece of information for our community. And obviously you can't answer it today, but it is on the record that we are seeking that information as soon as possible. Sure, you need to go to the mic.
Yeah, so sorry, first of all, sorry for the misunderstanding with meters and yards. I also want to stress that there is debris that we took to New Bedford. So obviously, when you're asking for the percentage, and we've loudly heard the question, we need to take that into consideration as well. That's just not here.
Okay. So the figure is 6 yards of foam and a couple of yards of fiberglass have been collected on Nantucket, but there's additional material that has been collected and transported to New Bedford in addition to those numbers. Okay, great. Just want to make sure we get our facts straight. Okay. I'm here in the room this time. Yep.
Hi, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Amy DeCibio. And actually, before my prepared statement, I would just like to say two things. I think it's interesting that Mr. Mueller, the Vineyard Wind CEO, is referring to this as a new industry. And this is a big disaster, and I actually think this is something that should be held in Washington, D.C. and not on Nantucket, in addition. Secondly, GE Vernova people, it's great that you're here, but your stock is down 10% and your CEO should probably be here. This is a really big tragedy for our island. Monday's announcement of this recent disaster coming from Vineyard Wind 2 days after the incident is unacceptable. The email claims a safety perimeter had been implemented, leading people to believe a piece of broken blade was intact and being fished from the sea by professionals. A full 3 days after the incident, yesterday, after beaches and ocean were trashed and closed with debris, Vineyard Wind finally stated that it was mobilizing debris recovery teams. Their teams, a very few 8 people. I don't know about you, but all I saw was a lot of kids in lifeguard suits doing the heavy lifting. I hope the Select Board is realizing it is time to walk away from the Good Neighbor Agreement with Vineyard Wind and speak out against these projects. Clearly, Vineyard Wind is not a good neighbor, and the agreement you signed with them in 2020 is a bad deal for Nantucket. Val Oliver's town meeting warrant article asking the town to walk away from the Good Neighbor Agreement was put forth for a good reason. Unfortunately, the agreement has forced an understanding that all of you on the dais and all of you working for this town are legally bound to support Vineyard Wind instead of freely executing what I believe you all know to be your #1 duty, protecting Nantucket and all of its people. At town meeting, this Select Board and the town's council told the community, as coached by your lawyers, Cultural Heritage Partners, the town needs to stay in the Good Neighbor Agreement for liability reasons. We were told breaking the agreement would bring risk of legal action from our supposed good neighbor, Vineyard Wind, and also risk of legal action from your co-signers and co-beneficiaries, Mariah Mitchell and Nantucket Preservation Trust. I would ask this Select Board and those of you who work for the town to reflect upon your legal advisors, Cultural Heritage Partners, and ask yourselves and each other the following questions and perhaps share those answers with the community. 1, what benefit did co-signing with Mariah Mitchell and Nantucket Preservation Trust bring to the town? Your attorneys are advising you to stay in the contract because of the liability that one or both of your co-signers may sue the town. Why in heck would your lawyers advise you to sign a contract that incurs unnecessary risk? 2, there are many worthy nonprofits on this island. Why were Mariah Mitchell and Nantucket Preservation Trust the chosen 2? And again, why were you advised to co-sign the agreement and therefore to share and thereby reduce the town's financial benefit. More risk for less reward
Amy?
is not a good deal.
Amy?
Three.
Three
Okay,
minutes
I
are up.
timed myself. I should be. Can I just have 2 more seconds? Sorry. It seems widely understood that your attorney's cultural heritage partners are paid
Amy?
on a contingency
Amy,
basis.
you can finish your statement when everyone else has had. I'm
Okay.
really going to stick to this, okay? Because
Yep,
I want
I
everyone to
understand.
speak.
Thank you.
You. Okay. And I'm going to change my policy on 1-on-1 because everybody here is standing, and I'm presuming people online are comfortable in a chair at home. So I'm going to take 2 speakers at the microphone for everyone online. It occurs to me y'all are on your feet. So go ahead.
I have a few questions, and I don't know if we'll get
Just-
it.
we need your name.
Hello, my name is Veronica Bonet.
Okay.
I have a few questions and then followed by a statement. The first question is, what about the rest of the turbine? What are the plans to remove it, and is it at risk of falling into the water? And what is Vineyard Wind doing about that? That seems quite urgent.
They have been asked that question, and
I might have missed it. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
and it's been answered on the recording, and they are going to continue to monitor and let us know about the progress on that.
Regarding water quality monitoring, Mr. Mueller answered that question, and that seems unacceptable to me. That's a question for the town. It's our water. Where's the Natural Resources Department? The fact that samples weren't pulled yesterday seems outrageous to me. Who's doing that sampling? This is a group that's allowed, Vineyard Wind is a group that's allowed to self-regulate and self-monitor. They're not protecting Nantucket. Nantucket needs to protect Nantucket. And are we doing our own water sampling?
We will follow up on that. I don't have an answer for you at this moment.
Thank you. For the debris that's being measured, is private citizen clean team, things that private citizens are picking up, is that ending up in the landfill? Are they being instructed where to bring it so that it can all be accounted for?
Okay, so I do want to respond that the reason we're discouraging the public from collecting material themselves is in part for this reason, to make sure that it's handled properly. And I will remind the public, if you are determined to do beach cleanup, our recommendation is that you bag and notify per the respondents, and this has all been out quite a bit in the public as to where to notify them so that they can collect it from you to make sure that it is handled properly in disposal.
So
There's no intention to put anything in the landfill related to this incident.
So I assume someone's reaching out to the clean team and big groups, surf school that picked up on their own.
We will make sure that happens.
The comment I want to make about the good neighbor agreement is that when you did that in private and didn't include the largest landowners on the South Shore of Nantucket, the Conservation Foundation, the Land Bank, you allowed those organizations, some whom have people on their boards with clean energy interests, to abdicate their responsibility for taking care of their land and being stewards of their land. You guys let a law firm that come in here and be a snake oil salesman. You didn't even have the courage to appropriate money to hire a law firm.
So we're up at 3 minutes. So if you want to continue to comment, you're welcome to.
That's fine. You didn't even hire a law firm. You went with ambulance
Okay,
chasers.
thank you very much. Online, Daniel Sparks.
Thank you. My view of the wind farms is that it's maybe the saddest thing I've ever seen, and will end up being the dumbest thing that's ever happened to the people of Nantucket and the island. And my concern is that, and I do have a question. It feels like we're relying on for-profit corporations, Vineyard Wind and GE, to be responsible for safety of people of the island. And the reality is they're for-profit companies. And so, my question is, who really is responsible with respect to what's happening out there to protect the people of Nantucket and the residents and their best interest? Because eventually all of these things are going to get taken down and it's going to be a mess. And hopefully there is an organization in Nantucket that can go ahead and say, you know what, this is a bad thing for everyone. And I'm just, I know there are a number of different government bodies within Nantucket, but I'm curious as to, is there an idea of which one might have the ability to change the course of something that, I think this is one of many things that are negative, big and small, that are going to happen over years. And I think there's going to be a lot of them. And I haven't heard anybody in Nantucket that thinks this is a good thing for the island or for its people. And I'm just trying to figure out, is there an entity that will take it on to try and help? Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Next up.
My name's Dan Pronk. I fish 800 lobster traps right where you're putting these tombstones, which is also the end of my business and the other people that fish down there. Let's just start with that. Second of all, in regards to toxicity of fiberglass, I have fiberglass boats. I don't know what you know about fiberglass, but when you apply it in the resins and the bonding units that are holding it together, you have to wear respirators. For what reason? Because it's toxic. If you breathe those fumes, the bonding agents that hold this stuff together, you'll get higher than a rat. So as far as it not being toxic and you not knowing about it being toxic, what's this made out of then? This is styrofoam, I believe, which is a chemical compound. It doesn't just grow naturally. So it is toxic. What do you have to say about that, Klaus? Or anybody else? My other question is, this Dogger Bank incident that happened 2 months ago, it was asked previously in this meeting about other circumstances that were similar to this. And you two people that claim to be in Hyannis in separate rooms, now you're in the same one, you didn't say anything about it until it was brought up to your attention. How come? Because you got it to hide? What's happened down there already that we don't know about, that you haven't reported? How come it took, you called everybody else except for the closest neighbor, being us? Before, we were the last ones to find out. We found out about it online yesterday. That's how I found out about it, looking on the internet and seeing all the shit washed up on, excuse my language, washed up on the beach. You didn't wake up to that, we did. You guys are just turning a blind eye to all this. And then my final question is, and nobody's asked this question yet in this room, what is to keep this from happening again? Because here's twice now it's happened in 2 months. We haven't even had winter yet, never mind a hurricane. What's going to happen when that happens? Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Dan. Just as a reminder, we have asked the Vineyard Wind team to answer that very question. And my understanding is that their analysis of this incident will allow them to compare it to the other incident. And we're looking forward to that information coming to us in a timely manner. I'm doing a second person here.
Galen Gardner. So I have a history as a public school teacher. So when I speak to you, I'm going to speak to you through the lens of a public school teacher. I teach the smallest children on the island, and I get the distinct pleasure of trying to teach little kids about things like skin cancer, water quality, both fresh water, saline water, etc. And I've prepared a statement that I'll read to you. Online, you can find 85 synonyms to describe a show made of excrement. And this situation going on in our waters is that for sure. But let's just say nicely that it's the beginning of a massive boondoggle. I'm a retired elementary school teacher who had a passion to teach my students about water resources, both fresh and saline. Our distinguished guests from Vineyard Wind and GE have, as a matter of course, tonight contributed gobbledygook science and corporate speak to address this situation and are publicly quoted as saying their flotsam and jetsam is non-toxic. As an elementary school teacher, I can tell our distinguished guests from the wind industry that yes, their debris has contaminated our oceans and beaches, and yes, undoubtedly this will have a negative effect on human and animal life and the ocean itself. 100%, 100%, 100%. The general public is well aware of the toxicity that the wind industry is presenting. Just in case there was any question, what has our community learned over the past several years only so well and intimately as our community members have fallen ill with cancers caused by PFAS found in our water sources? We have said no to synthetic playing fields as a result. As a community, many of us were dismayed by our elected officials signing the Good Neighbor Agreement. At town meeting this past spring, we voted the whole building to one to say that those wind companies are not good neighbors. We are here tonight in a packed house to express our anger and dismay over the rape of our oceans, our peace, our prosperity, our beloved marine life. In my time on the planet, I have never seen nor heard of as many marine mammal strandings and deaths as there currently are. Necropsies routinely show that ingestion of plastics are a huge reason why these animals are dying, and worse yet is all the noise and vibration you create while you are carpet bombing the Atlantic Ocean floor. And for what? And for what? You'll be a tiny percentage of energy production. The cost far outweighs the benefits. In closing, I would remind us all that in the late 60s, there was always tar balls on the beach in the summer, true fact. And on my honeymoon, I went salmon fishing out of Valdez, Alaska, and that was in 1999. The fishermen we went with told us that all you need to do in Valdez is dig down an inch or less, and you'd still find oil from the spill. And that's important to this minute on this day, because now we are having our own Valdez, except this one is going to go on forever. Thanks to Act for Whales, who has doggedly tried to bring light to this, hopefully this groundswell of disdain keeps growing. I find it ironic that mostly we are told, quote, you can't do anything about it. I
Galen?
disbelieve that.
Galen?
And if living in a democracy now
Galen?
means we can't do anything, then what is the meaning of democracy?
Thank you. Okay, where am I? Online next, right? John Borden.
John, you need to unmute.
Mr. Borden, can you unmute yourself, please? Okay, sometimes people
next?
walk away from their computers when they're, let's,
Bonnie Brady?
yep, let's go to Bonnie Brady.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. My name is Bonnie Brady. I'm from the Long Island Commercial Fishing Association.
I'm sorry, that wasn't clear. What organization are you from?
I'm from the Long Island Commercial Fishing Association.
Okay, thank you for repeating that.
Sure, no problem. I'd like to make a comment and then ask just a couple of questions. Regarding how often wind turbine blades break down, in a 2014 report called Breaking Blades by G-Cube, an insurer of wind turbines, it said there are an estimated 700,000 blades in operation globally and approximately 3,800 incidents of blade failure each year. Blade incidents can cost in the order of $1 million to resolve, and there is a clear industry imperative to ensure that these failures are kept to a minimum. In the root causes of mechanisms of failure of wind turbine blades, an overview by Leon Mishinevsky Jr., the Department of Wind Energy, Riso Campus, Technical University of Denmark, written in 2022, he uses the same 2014 figures and uses the same 700 blades number from the 3,800 turbines. He said the total repair budgets in Europe increased from 2019 to 2020 from US dollars 4.7 to 8.6 million, and unplanned repairs also increased slightly in Europe by 2% and even by 10% in America. Failure events of different degrees take place relatively often. I did some quick math. There is a failure for every 184 blades, which equals 0.5% of all blades that fail. On page 4 of the same document, it explains the main reasons for failure in year 1 is surface damage, structural cracks, lightning, manufacturing defects, and operational errors. I have 3 questions for GE Vernova. The first one, is it true that the LM107 is only made in Cherbourg, France? Number 2, what is the mold technical issue at the only place that supposedly makes them in Cherbourg, France in April that caused apparently a shutdown of half of their production? And third, what is the installation issue that you have determined was the cause of the blade exploding at AW38? Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask the GE team to respond to those questions since they were directed to them.
Thank you. Thank you for the questions. The blade at issue here was made in Canada, not in France. And so we can follow up on your questions regarding France, but I'd just like to clarify that. And we will follow up if you'd like on the French questions. The third question was going to a failure. Could you tell me what you're referring to in that third question, please, so we can try to answer it?
Sorry, I have to bring her back on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Thank you.
I didn't write it down, so we're going to bring her back on to repeat the question.
I think it was about root cause.
Okay, can you hear me now? Thank you very much. Excuse me, I just have a follow-up on the first question. You said that the LM 107 was made in Canada, not in France, when the LM 107, apparently the only facility that was big enough to actually build them was in Cherbourg. So we'll go back to that. The second question was regarding what was the technical issue in Cherbourg in April. And what is the installation issue that you mentioned earlier when you were introducing yourself that was determined as the cause of the blade exploding at AW 38? Thank you.
Okay. Are those questions clear to you?
Yes, like Roger indicated, the blade which we are discussing now, it is made in Canada, not in France. Now coming back to the second question, the installation issue, it is how we pick up the blade. However, whether we have determined that specific issue on Vineyard, and we are investigating that, and at this moment we have not completed that root cause. But when we say installation related issue, it is how do we pick the blade up for installation.
And I think there was the additional question about some issue with the production at the French facility, and I'm not sure how that relates to our situation, but I think there's a general trust issue around the industry. So was there some production issue at the facility in Cherbourg? And can you fill us in on that?
What I'd like to do is go back and follow up and get you. We had an answer earlier from one of the selectmen asking about the reliability of the blades and other failures, and intend to give a fulsome answer to that. And we hear some specific questions about Cherbourg, France. And so if there's interest in that, we will follow up and share what we can on that. We're here today to focus on this blade. It's what we're prepared to do. And so we'll do our homework on the question about France.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next up.
My name is Taylin Breeden. I didn't wake up in Europe today. I woke up on a Nantucket covered in fiberglass. I have been an environmental activist close to a decade, pushing for green energy and our transition away from fossil fuels. I believe it is time for us to protect our oceans before it is too late. That being said, the disastrous environmental impact that Vineyard Wind has already caused our environment should make us all raise our eyebrows about the future of this project, or if we can even trust this company. This is not green energy, this is greenwashing for tax breaks. We are not an experiment. Our beaches are our livelihood, our economy, the home to some of the most endangered whales in the world, our food. This is happening before hurricane season has even begun. This is happening before 80 other wind turbines are being installed. We need more regulations. We need protection for our beaches and our wildlife, our community. We are not against green energy, but we do need honesty when something like this happens. The lack of answers is concerning. We need to know that there is a plan to mitigate the risk of our oceans. We need to know that you won't pull the wool over our eyes when this happens. It feels like we are making this list for you on what to do after a disaster. We aren't off to a good start. It feels like our beaches are being bought by the highest bidder, and we expect more, we deserve more. And I hope this town will call for a full investigation by the EPA before any more turbines are built. I ask we leave the good neighbor agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Ellen?
Ellen Ray. I wanted to ask if these wind turbines are experimental, in other words, the size and materials. It sounds like these are very large. And that's my first question.
What don't you?
well, through you to them. I mean, I know you don't know about,
No, I
so I'm
recognize that.
asking you to ask them.
What are
since
you?
I'm asking,
asking-
are these turbines?
Ellen, ask, if you have multiple questions, go ahead and.
Hey,
excuse me, Dan.
Listen to this woman, he's talking to this guy sitting behind him, and she's asking a question. I've been watching. Rude? Oh, yeah, him, not paying attention, it's all about you.
Dan, thank you. Noted. Okay.
Well-
Ellen, I'm going to ask you to ask all of your questions, and then we'll have them respond.
Okay, all right. I want to know if these wind turbines are experimental, in other words, the size and materials, and I would expect all the debris would be recovered. I'm hoping that you're going to measure this. You talk about how much foam is in a turbine. You said you've collected 6 yards. Well, how much foam is in a turbine? And how much, you said you've collected 1.5 yards of fiberglass. How much fiberglass? I believe these turbines are 300 feet. Am I correct? The blade. So we have a lot here. And also add BPA to your question to them if that is in their product. I thought this was supposed to be green. This is all touted as a green project. This isn't green if they're putting all this in there, if they're putting this in these turbines. And now I've asked this for 15 years. For the first time, a wind farm company came here and wanted to do this. Who's going to pay? Who's going to deal with the mess if there's a hurricane out there? This isn't even a hurricane. I don't even know if it was wind, but look at the debris. This is a disaster. I would like to go boating. My question to you is, I would like to go around to Great Point and then to Sankaty, and I'd like to maybe continue. Am I going to run into debris and maybe kill my family if there's a 2-foot piece of fiberglass 2 feet down in the water and I hit it going 20 some odd miles an hour? You all have put us in, this is like a danger now out there in the water. And I feel very sorry for our fishermen that have to go deal with this every single day. And this is not a green project. And I really want to know about the experiment of this, and that I hear you asking questions, all of you. I don't understand why you didn't ask these questions 6 months ago. Not until we have a disaster. The government put the cart before the horse. These are, I don't know how many turbines they have out there, but there's more to come. Lots of them. And what happens if 50 of them break? This is a disaster to our community. You know, these people should be paying our town millions to find them for the problem for these people. And I don't want to take my grandkids on those beaches. That fiberglass is awful. I've worked with it. I've used
Ellen.
it on boats.
Thanks, Ellen. Okay.
Madam Chair,
I think, Don?
do you think we could get a representative from BOEM here next week?
Yeah, yes, okay. So I take that recommendation in. There was a question about whether this, respond to the question of the experimental nature of this wind farm. Is there an answer from someone on that? And then after that, I'm sorry, guys, but the board needs a couple of minute break, bio break. Sorry. It will be quick.
3:30 in the morning, go fishing. 3:30.
Okay, Bobby?
I know. I'm just.
Yeah, I know.
We used to have these meetings that last 4 or 5 hours. We didn't take breaks.
Okay.
I'm going to be quiet now. I'm going to be quiet now.
Okay, guys. So do you want to respond to the question about the experimental nature of this technology? And I think that translates into maybe some information about testing and so forth in terms of the lead up to the installation of this. Go ahead, GE.
Thank you. The blades and turbines are not experimental. They are tested and certified. Would you like to explain the certification process?
Yeah, that is correct. The wind turbines go through a type certification process. So the blade and the turbine is tested and certified as part of the type certification process.
Okay. For use in ocean situations? In terms of testing and certification, in terms of
Yes, there is.
its location?
Correct. Yeah, there is a specific certification scheme as per the international regulation, IEC, for offshore turbines. So the turbines are certified according to that.
Okay, all right, thank you for that answer. Okay, I really need 2 minutes. I'm sorry, guys, I'm sitting here and we'll be right back.
Erica, this guy, John Borden, was trying to get back in. Is he in now?
Yeah, he's right at the top.
All right, he's in. All right. Hey, Mr. Perry, how are you?
Okay, here comes Malcolm. Okay, Dr. McNabb is the last to return to the room, so I'm going to ask everybody to sit back down. And Erica, remind me where I was in terms of, am I online next? Or, okay. Who was up next at the microphone? Okay, all right, so I'm going to take one online, Burton Balkine. Oh, okay. I'll wait till they return. Thank you for pointing it out. Could someone from the Vineyard Green team let him know that we're reconvening? Thank you. We'll give it a few seconds. Okay, everybody's present. So next up is Burton Balkine online. I'm sorry, is it a response to a question or? Okay, we're hearing there's an urgent development from Vineyard Wind, so go ahead. Excuse me, please.
So
Please.
I want to apologize for our look at the phones, but I didn't mean to offend anyone. But it was because we were informed just now that there's been a development to the integrity of the blade. We know very little because we've been sitting here, but I just want to inform you that there's a development on the integrity of the rest of the blade that is on the, and I need to respond to that. So I'm happy to stay here for a little bit longer, but then I need to go work with my team.
Okay,
So
okay, folks,
I don't know at
please.
this point because I've been here.
Okay. So what we're being told is they're being informed that there's an emerging issue with the remainder of the blade. I think it's reasonable to ask the team to go find out what's going on. That should be our prior. I understand there are other representatives from Vineyard Wind here who are able to answer questions on behalf of your CEO. Okay. Folks, this is the definition of crisis management. Things change by the minute, okay? And we can only know what we know in the moment, so please go and find out what's going on and come back and let us know immediately, anything you know. Okay, thank you. Okay, okay. Folks. Okay. I'm going online to Burton Balkind.
What do we do now?
Okay, I'm going to ask people in the room, please, allow speakers to speak and respect the time of others at the microphone, whether they're online or in the room. Kindly, please, please. Okay, Burton, Spruce?
Burton Balkine. Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to say first that I was at the beach today, and I'm very lucky to be able to go to the beach most days. And I went surfing today. And I went surfing, I was at 9A, 10, and 10A of the emergency access points that I was surfing at and walking the beach, and I was very careful. I picked up some paper, a beer can. I didn't see any debris. I'm not minimizing what's happening, but I hear a lot of people like how the island's ruined and things aren't going to be the same. And today was a surf day for me. The waves were good, the wind was light, the air was hot. And so I don't think it does anyone good to be catastrophizing about this. It's obviously a bad thing that happened, and I'm not minimizing it, but it's not the end of the world either. And we have to kind of balance that out about how it's affecting us and how it's not affecting us. I saw a team of 5 people on the beach diligently picking up. They weren't just picking up. I didn't see any debris, and I only saw stuff online, but they were picking up everything, like plastic, anything they saw, they were picking up, which I thought was at least a good faith that they're picking up things out. Again, I'm not trying to say whitewashing this or greenwashing what people say. It's a bad thing, but it's not a catastrophe as it's been portrayed.
Okay,
But
people,
I do have a
just
question.
because someone disagrees with your point of view, we can be respectful of everybody's point of view, please.
So
Go ahead,
thank you, Chairwoman. What I was my question was I called up the harbor master today, and they advised me not to bring my fur baby to the beach. And so we didn't bring the fur baby to the beach. And I don't know if there's an answer to this, but do anyone know when it's going to be safe to bring the fur baby to the beach? Thank you very much.
Okay, Spruce, we'll get back to you on that, and I can only guess that the risk is that a dog might grab a piece of foam in their mouth before the owner realizes what's going on. So we'll get an answer to that question if it hasn't already been released. Thanks for your comments and question. Okay, who's up next?
My name is Gavin Norton. I own Axe Surf School at Noble Beach, which is directly affected by the debris and everything that's going on. It's directly affected by every warning that's been put out by Vineyard, Wind, GE, and the town, which I appreciate the warnings. You know, we have to be safe out in the water. My concern is that I had to close down all day yesterday, and due to all the warnings today, you know, we did a lesson. So this is a time of the year where every day is like a week to me for earning. Everyone has canceled for tomorrow and most of the future into the week just because, you know, the fear of getting hurt out in the water. Nobody has any answers. GE, Vineyard, Wind, everyone has said it's pretty clear they have no idea how long this is going to take. If that thing just fell in the water and that's why they had to leave and we just saw a portion of it, my season's done. I have 25 employees that are now all struggling with money because we can't teach. This is a early part of the season. I have no idea what the rest of my year looks like. You know, there's not a ton of businesses on the South Shore. Mine is directly in the water that we're being told to wear shoes in the shore break. Don't bring your dogs. The beach is dead. There's no one there. No one was there yesterday. I don't know if Cisco didn't have any debris at it and Spruce didn't see any. It was everywhere today at Nobadir. They had 2 trucks going and picking it all up, which is great. But when they come back, there's more. When they leave, there's less. Then when they come back, it's coming back. So I don't know what the long term is of this. I'm trying to keep everybody safe. And if I'm allowing people to go in the water, someone gets hit by a shard of fiberglass, it's now on me. But it's not something that I can control. GE and nobody's really given us a reason on when it's going to be totally fine. We have no idea how much is out there. We're about to get surfed tomorrow and the next day with weather and wind. It's going to blow everything in. I'm trying to be safe, but at the end of the day, I have to run a business. I have 25 people looking at me and they don't have answers. Nobody really has answers and it's tough for me. I've reached out to emails, seeing if there's a lost wages, lost claim, and you know, I've been told yes, but we'll get back to you. My season's done in 5 weeks. I don't have that much time. They have all the time in the world, and I'm sitting here telling my guys I don't know what to do. Beachgoers, I get 20 calls an hour, texts, emails, DMs, everything, and it's just, I don't know what to tell people. It's ruining my business short term right now, but who knows how long this is gonna go. It's in the front of the Boston Globe, it's in the New York Times, it's on every social media outlet. I have people I've never met asking me questions, showing up to the beach and asking the questions that we don't know the answers to, and neither do they. So it's just, this is a tough place for me. And now that he's not here to answer it, I don't know what I'm going to do.
So Gavin, you're just at 3 minutes, and thank you. And I think this is a new area of question, and I commit to you that I will follow through and find out what Vineyard Wind's responsibility is around economic impact. And also, we have asked for as much information as possible, you know, on the timing of this and, you know, how this is going to play out. And they have heard that request, and we will push for as much information and share it with the public as quickly as we have it. So I hear you, and this board will support what you're asking for.
Yeah,
And I will, anyway.
Yeah, the town is quantifying, you know, the impacts to the town and the amount that town is spending. You have, you know, you have your budgets, you know what you've done last year, you know what's happening now. I would ask that you, you know, compile that and, you know, and get in contact with us.
Yeah.
And we'll figure out, you know, either whether it's through our attorneys or through the town, we'll figure out how that has to be presented.
Yeah, I
You know, and
appreciate
I
it.
think there's other people who are going to be impacted as well, but you are clearly in the front lines of this.
Yeah, I mean, we had people running out of the water when the water was closed, and it's not a good look. You know, you have helicopters going over the beach at 100 feet above the water. it causes a lot of rumors, and it's going to take all summer to get rid of them.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. And one of the things that I would pursue is a methodology for reporting economic impact. And I hope your team hears that this community is going to need that, and they're going to need it quickly because people's livelihoods are at stake here. Okay.
No,
So, thanks, Gavin. I'm sorry? I'm not going to go there tonight, but Gavin, your 3 minutes, we're going to go on to Bobby, and then.
Madam Chair, I'm actually here to represent myself, but also as a delegate for SHAB. So if I could have a little more than 3 minutes, I would appreciate it.
So
I'll
Bobby,
make the SHAB comment very quick. It
Sure.
was just, we had our SHAB meeting last night. This was brought up at the meeting, and we have concerns about potential water quality issues with the harbor, as it was just stated earlier. And we would like you to have the town, through the Natural Resource Department, monitor the water in the harbor even more now, and especially the surrounding beaches, and keep us abreast of it. That was really all. It was a preliminary discussion, but I wanted to bring you aware, let you know that we're aware of it and we're discussing it at our quorum.
Yeah.
For myself personally, I have a really hard time with the timeline here. This happened Saturday night. I drove my boat through the wind farm at 5:30 in the morning Sunday in black fog. Now, I have almost $100,000 worth of electronics in my boat. My radar will pick up a turn at 2 miles. I have a $30,000 FLIR camera that can see in the dark. Doesn't see in the fog. I can't pick up a 12-foot piece of fiberglass floating on the surface. There was no notice to mariners until Monday. That's unacceptable. The town wasn't informed until Monday. That's unacceptable. Anyone with any kind of water knowledge knows that the tide out there around this wind farm goes northeast, southwest, and the prevailing wind in the summer is southwest, and this stuff was going to end up on the beach. They had to do a tide analysis before they even started this project. So this is a bunch of crap when they say that, oh, we had to do a NOAA study to see where the stuff was going to go. They knew where it was going to go. They were hoping it wasn't going to go on the beaches so they wouldn't have to deal with it as much. There's nobody in this room that's been to that site, I guarantee it. We got a bunch of suits here trying to cover their tracks. Where was the project manager? Where was the facilities manager on that site that should have made the report to the Coast Guard right away, not 48 hours later? I have to drive back through there tomorrow morning at 5:30. Now I got a 500-meter buffer zone around this one tower. We were always told we were going to be able to fish around these things. They weren't going to affect our livelihood. On any given day, there's as much as 30 boats that come out of Nantucket and go that direction. If they had called the town on Saturday morning, or Sunday morning, excuse me, Sheila would have notified the charter fleet, and we would have notified the recreational fleet, and we could have potentially stopped any kind of disaster. Thank God nobody hit any of this stuff. But there are 20-foot boats that come out of Nantucket and go 25 miles offshore this time of year with just a small radar and a radio. If they lost their motor, it would be 12 or 14 hours before anybody would report them overdue. And with the fog down there, it might take weeks to find them. This is unacceptable. And they only got, when I go through, I've been through there 3 times this year. There's only 5 of them turning. 5. The rest of them are sitting there. Yeah, I mean, the town, I know you all felt that you had to sign this good neighbor agreement, but I think it's time to revisit it. And I would like to see a representative from the federal government, and they should treat this like an aircraft incident. If this was a plane crash, all these planes would be grounded until they figure out what happened. None of these turbines should be allowed to turn a blade, and no more construction should happen until they figure out exactly what happened with this blade. Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby. Next up online, Megan Lapp.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
I can.
Great. I have 2 questions for Vineyard Wind, but considering they're not in the room, maybe you can relay these.
No, they are in the room.
Oh, okay, great. My first question is, Vineyard Wind and GE wouldn't answer about PFAS and microplastics potentially getting into the water column. If those toxins end up in seafood products, For example, filter feeders such as sea scallops, etc. How will Vineyard Wind compensate the commercial fishing industry? Your representatives have made it very clear that the current fishery compensation plans do not compensate for environmental damage because Vineyard Wind didn't expect any. Also, to take money from those compensation funds, which don't compensate for environmental damage like this, fishermen are required to sign a waiver releasing Vineyard Wind from all liability, including environmental damage, like if PFAS ends up in seafood. So how do you plan to compensate for something like this if seafood gets contaminated, especially for fishermen who have already signed the waiver? Number one. Number two, Mr. Muller and Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners, one of the co-owners of Vineyard Wind, are from Denmark. So they are well aware that a couple of years ago off Denmark, a blade fell off a turbine at a wind farm there, and immediate no-sail zones went up around that entire wind farm and all others, even in other countries, that were using that turbine for safety reasons to protect mariners in case another fell off. Why aren't we seeing that here? Why are we not seeing the same safety precautions? Thank you.
Okay, so is Vineyard Wind prepared to answer the question about the compensation for fishermen?
At this point, we don't have the right person.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we will submit that question and expect a response. And as to the second question, it is my understanding that Vineyard Wind, we have been told tonight that Vineyard Wind shut down the project. What was the, could somebody go to the mic so I can ask direct questions on the timeline? So Vineyard Wind got notification that there was a problem at the turbine Saturday night. And when did Vineyard Wind shut down?
I don't know the specifics of that, but I believe it was, my name is Michael Clayton with Vineyard Wind. I'm a project manager on the development team.
Okay, so the person to answer that question is not in the room,
Yeah,
as it turns out. Okay.
I don't know the details. I can say there was a comment about the notices to mariners, but it's my understanding, and I'll get confirmation of that, but we notified the Coast Guard immediately upon being aware of the incident, and it's my understanding the Coast Guard issued 2 notices to mariners. One created that 500-meter buffer around the site, and the other one was a general notices to mariners for possible debris in the water. I can get confirmation about when those were issued, but it's my understanding those were issued Saturday night as soon as we notified the Coast Guard.
So I am going to request and communicate to everybody that we are going to review the timeline on this in detail. And we are going to verify information from all sources about that timeline, and we will present a summary of that timeline for the community.
Madam Chair, may I ask just a quick follow-up?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Yes, the Coast Guard sent out a notice to mariners and put a 500-meter safety zone around that one turbine. But standard practice in other countries, including off of Denmark, has been if there is an issue with one blade on one turbine, there could very well be issues with all the blades on all the turbines. So what developers previously have done is request safety zones around all of them, which that would impact vessels that I represent, but also, I mean, we don't know if another blade is just going to crack tomorrow. So that was my reason for asking the question. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate that, and we will make sure Vineyard Wind provides a response to all of your questions. Thank you. Bruce.
My name is Bruce Pursley. When the Exxon Valdez incident occurred, Captain Joseph Hazelwood was found criminally negligent, and Exxon was fined severely, and he was punished criminally. I have heard nothing about the prospect of this being a criminal case. We don't know why this happened. However, the response was wildly inadequate. why there wasn't a plane spotter to go look at the debris, why there wasn't a quicker response. Perhaps the wish was it would blow the wrong direction, but I believe there is criminal negligence here, and the damages are going to be impossible to calculate. Yes, the gentleman's surf revenues have disappeared. Clearly, it is hurting the fishing industry, but the long-term implications for Nantucket in terms of the desirability of this place as a tourist destination, for the hotels, for the restaurants, and so forth, quantifying the damages here, they could be absolutely enormous. And I don't know how much was signed away on the Good Neighbor Agreement, but I don't know if criminal negligence supersedes that. So that's question number one. Question number two is, to the extent that this is a problem that continues, my question to the Vineyard Wind people is, at what point might you consider abandoning this project? This is
Please.
Obviously deeply flawed. Amy DeCibio and an N magazine have been writing articles warning about this for 3.5 years. It has fallen on deaf ears. There has been a certain arrogance from Vineyard Wind and perhaps GE that all these complaints, all these experts, all this testimony means nothing. Well, who would have expected this to fail so quickly? And how they are going to do forensics on this, I guess they're working on it now, but all the evidence is washed to sea. I'm not sure how they're going to quite figure this out. But if this prototype, and I know there's one or two others, but this in essence is a prototype. And how they are going to rectify it and make sure this doesn't happen again, my recommendation is that these things should be turned into osprey nests. Take down the blades and close this project. It was flawed from the beginning. Amy's research has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that the liabilities exceed the benefits of this project. And I think it's time for Vineyard Wind and GE to take a hard look to see whether this idea is fundamentally flawed and should be terminated.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. Okay.
My name's Mary Chalk. Before this weekend's incident, what was happening from offshore wind was already the largest environmental disaster in the history of our nation. There have been whales washing up, over 100 whales in the offshore wind development areas over the past year. We're looking at how those deaths are being treated. You know, they're not even investigated properly. So now we have moved to a disaster that's really impacting human health. And everything I heard tonight is great, but nothing is making me feel any safer. So my questions are, when this was being proposed and brought to us, our governor was there, our representatives. Wind, we're the Saudi Arabia of wind. We saw them everywhere. Where are they tonight? Why are we not hearing from our governor? Why are we not hearing from Representative Dylan Fernandez, Julian Sear? Where are they? Also, because this is the largest disaster in our history, it's not just Nantucket Beach, it's not just Cisco Beach. This is involving the ocean of southern New England. So all the recovery efforts sound good, all the protocols sound great, but I believe the recovery must include taking those blades down and stopping it so that we can feel safe. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go online to Rick Atherton.
Before I let him in, I just have a question. There's a couple of repeat people.
Yep, I'm keeping an eye on
Are we
it.
going to skip over them to the people that haven't?
Yep. Just for those of you online who I recognize that your hand is raised for a second time, we are going to pass over you until everyone has had an opportunity to speak for the first time. So Rick, go ahead.
Right. Thank you, Brooke. I think a number of my issues and concerns have been raised.
Rick, we're having a hard time hearing you. I don't know whether you're not near enough your microphone.
I think I'm near enough. Can you hear me now?
And not altogether clearly.
Well, if I'm not clear, then I should just pass. I don't know what the microphone issue is, Brooke. So.
Okay, we'll do our best to try to listen. Go ahead.
Okay. The question really is whether or not there are any impediments in the good neighbor agreement to the town pursuing damages of the types that have been discussed. They're short-term, medium-term, and long-term, and they could be very significant. I think we'd all like to know there are no prohibitions on the town doing whatever it needs to do to provide compensation for people who have suffered losses and to the environmental impact on our island. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rick. I think I heard a request that we pursue all to recover for economic losses and environmental losses to the community, that we continue to pursue that. And this board is committed to do that. So thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening, Chair. My name is Chris Perry, and I want to thank you for being so patient with everyone tonight. We've been at it for over 2 hours, so thank you. I'm here tonight to raise two questions. The first question, and I'm also here as a concerned citizen of Nantucket and also as a columnist for the Nantucket Current. And as most of you know, I have been an outspoken critic of Vineyard Wind and the Good Neighbor Agreement for quite some time. And at no point have I ever said that you have authorized this program, but certainly if you go back and look, you can see I've been an outspoken critic. Even as late as the last town meeting a few months ago, the Board of Selectmen were in opposition to an article that I spoke on behalf of, which was Article 78 and 77. So only a few months ago, the Board of Selectmen was in favor of the Good Neighbor Agreement. So I'm asking you tonight, each and every one of you, knowing what you know today and obviously are very upset, are any of you willing to step outside and away and support efforts to remove Nantucket from the Good Neighbor Agreement, which is in existence today?
I am not prepared to answer that question tonight. I don't know whether anyone else from the board is.
I'm sorry, if I may, I'd specific.
Hold on. You asked the board a question, and I've asked them if they're. I mean, we are taking the comments under advisement for sure, but Don, did you want to respond to that?
I would just say that we'll be reviewing all of our options with our council.
I have a copy of the Good Neighbor Agreement here, signed by Don Holgate, who was the chairperson at the time. And if we are now reviewing the options, why didn't the select board review options earlier? And it takes a disaster for the select board to review. So again, is anybody willing on the board to tonight tell the people here this evening and those that are watching, is anybody here tonight willing to support an effort to remove themselves in the town of Nantucket from the Good Neighbor Agreement, which is presently in existence?
May I?
Oh, okay. I believe I answered that question. Don?
My point was the Good Neighbor Agreement does not cancel the project. We need to review all of our options in light of what has just happened. And in light of all of the organizations that actually do approve these projects. This is a much higher government level than we are, and we need to get those representatives either in conversation with us or in front of us and with our council.
Okay, so the answer is no. So again, I asked the question not about the project, not about something else that might be confusing. I'm simply asking if the board individually, is anybody here tonight willing to support an effort to remove themselves
Okay.
from the Good Neighbor Agreement?
Chris, you've asked the same question 3 times.
Just waiting for an answer.
So,
Well, I'll answer it. If you're asking for me to, go out tonight, it would be politically great to say yes to make everybody happy, but I wouldn't do that because I think it would be an irresponsible message to send right now. I think we have to do what Don said, which is look at our options and make the right choice for the island based on the options and where we are now.
Okay, thank you. The second question, if I could,
no, you're going to have to come back because 3 minutes are up.
thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay. I think, Malcolm, did you want to say something?
I wanted to answer the question.
Oh, then please do.
I mean, in one way, yes, I would like to support getting us out of this agreement. However, in a way, I want to make sure I'm not doing it just for window dressing, just to make myself feel good. I always look at issues with my heart and my head. And my head says, get out of it. My heart is saying, yes, it'll make me feel good. It'll make everybody feel good. But I want to make sure if we do something as drastic as that, after we've reviewed all our options, that it actually has meaning and actually accomplishes something other than making us feel good.
Thanks, Malcolm. Okay.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Tom.
I agree with Matt and Malcolm and Dawn, and all of us have said, we definitely want to talk to town admin, town council, see what the implications would be, but the community has certainly spoken tonight, and we hear that, and I think we'll take that, all the comments tonight to heart for whatever we can or can do. Thank you.
All right, great. Help me, am I at the microphone again? Okay, thanks, Erica. I rely on you. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Suzanne
Come
Girardi.
right up to the microphone, please. Thank you.
Suzanne Girardi.
Okay.
My comment is really to Vineyard Wind, and, oh, I'm sorry. It's, okay. My comment is really to Vineyard Wind because those of us on Nantucket that call this our home are tremendously impacted and shocked by the level. I don't even think we realize the level of the disaster in front of us and the potential for more. So at the beginning of the conversation, we were told that safety first. Safety first. We made sure nobody got hurt by the actual blade falling. Safety first. If that was really what was motivating you, you would have notified Nantucket. How many people arrived here and not until Monday or Tuesday, whatever day? But what I do know is those people that call this their home, our lifeguards, our dock staff, our town employees went and took care of their home the best they could and put themselves in harm's way. The lifeguards are always putting themselves in harm's way. This is very personal to me because one of these people was my daughter, and they were getting in the water to do the job that these people that are supposed to know how to remove hazardous waste should be doing. Fiberglass is like a razor, and these kids are in the water pulling in 200-pound pieces, and I know that. And I'm really pretty shocked that a company could stand here and say that safety first, because you didn't care about the people of Nantucket when you didn't notify us and let there be a better plan in place. And you put our whole government in a precarious position. And our kids did it because it's their home and they grew up in the water and they care about it. My rhetorical question to you would be, are you going to let your children go and harvest all of this waste to protect their home? I gather you didn't, because it was okay for you to let days go by before there were people here actually doing. And 8 people to remove this hazardous waste, it took many kids, many young people. We call them kids, but they're young adults, responsible and caring about their environment in their home. That's all I have to say is Everything else I needed to say was said by other people, and I appreciate that we're all in this together. And there is a lot of anger about being put in a position by somebody who just stands to profit, really, because they're not invested in us, our home, in our island.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Okay. I'm going to go to Bruce Mandel online.
I hope I'm unmuted now. Thank you.
You are, Bruce. Amazing.
Select board members, our visitors from Vineyard Wind and the Nantucket community, I wanted to make a couple quick comments. Today, Vineyard Wind issued a debris dispersion model showing the trajectory they expected this debris to travel. I've sent you each a copy of that, board members, and it shows the trajectory of the debris ranging from approximately Hummock Pond eastward. No debris trajectory for Nantucket, and I haven't heard a word about Tuckernook. So this model issued today, after we had been finding debris in Nantucket and Smith Point, is not representative of what's being what's happening. And I find this troubling. We know that there is no decommissioning plan for the end of the life of these turbines, and there certainly isn't one for what's happening now in case they have to be decommissioned. I think that should be something that gets focused upon. We know that there's debris in Nantucket because Mary Chalk took videos of it just today. We're not talking about that. There's another problem here that we're not dealing with. Most of these turbines have thousands of gallons of petroleum products in each turbine nacelle, as well as the support station. And you know how fast the debris got here floating on the ocean, and you'll know that any petroleum that's dumped into the ocean, into the currents and tidal flow that runs to Nantucket will be here in hours. In these turbines, examples of these petroleum products are hydraulic oil, gear oil, dielectric fluid, diesel fuel, propylene glycol, ethylene glycol, and hundreds of pounds of sulfur hexafluoride, which probably would take 3,000 years to disperse and become diluted. These thousands of gallons of petroleum products could leak into the ocean and quickly make its way to Nantucket. And as you know, there are procedures and readily available equipment used for the containment of these types of oil and fuel spills. We have them on Nantucket, and we use them to deploy and contain, for example, single vessel spills. There are no containment vessels for these products in the nacelles.
Bruce? Can you
Yes.
finish up? Your time's up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to also mention that the aircraft lighting delay system is not employed. But what's the plan for protecting Nantucket from the petroleum spill?
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.
Yep, okay.
Hi, my name is Brian Borgerson, and actually I'm going to hit on some stuff that Bruce Mandel said and some stuff that Bobby DaCosta said. This stuff floats. The only reason we saw this stuff is because it's summertime, it's blowing southwest really hard, and the tide runs in that direction. This is like an experiment with like floating balls. If this has been blowing southeast or east-southeast, this would have happened, and no one in this room would have heard about it. No one would have thought about it. We'd look at those stupid windmills and be like, wow, those things are stupid. We only got this because of the weather conditions. That's the only reason we're seeing this stuff. Their dispersion model is incorrect. I have a piece here that's from out of their dispersion model. I found it today. So their dispersion model is incorrect. Vineyard Wind apparently decided that they had like a square block. It's like a linear thing. The tide moves in a line, which is all incorrect. Another thing I'd like to say is this island is pretty awesome when something like this happens. Granted, I'm not a big fan of the pitchforks and torches, but everybody cleaning up and everybody cleaning our beaches and caring about our beaches and being here and like really trying to make Nantucket a special place, especially the south side of our island and all of that is really, really what makes Nantucket, Nantucket. Another thing, what Bruce Mandel said, this again is a floating issue. Those turbines are loaded with hydraulic oil and grease and all that stuff. If that stuff spilled, what is the mitigation? What is the mitigation purpose from Vineyard Wind? Do you guys have an answer for that? Do you guys have a boom boat? Is there anything that is in play for this? We've never seen any of that stuff. And like, I don't think they thought that this was gonna happen like this, but we got picked as a guinea pig this time because of the way the wind was. This easily could be a meeting in Montauk, New York right now. Just remember that the environmental factors put it on our beach. Vineyard Wind could have had 15 of these blades already break when it was blowing a different direction, and we wouldn't have known any of this. So.
Thanks, Brian. The question you asked, did you want an answer right now?
Where's the mitigation for like what Bruce said?
Yeah, so okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Brian, finish your thought.
They said they're gonna be here to clean it up. How long does that last? Like, is it just until there's like only 10 pieces on the beach? Yeah. And also, who's paying for it? Because Vineyard Wind obviously has not made a dollar. They've produced no power. So is it coming from our federal money that we're paying ourselves to mitigate ourselves?
Okay.
Is that where it's from?
So we have asked the question of them today in a meeting. I did ask this question and to ensure that they're here until it's done, and I want them to define what done means to them. And so we can discuss what that means to us as a community versus what they think done is. And as to this potential for petroleum products and other things from that obviously are not related to this blade disaster, but is there a plan for that?
There is. As part of the permitting process, we had to develop an oil spill response plan, and that was submitted to BOEM, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, BSEE, Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement. So that was submitted to them, reviewed by them and their subject matter experts. We've had multiple meetings with them. We've had revisions to that. It's been updated based on comments and feedback that those agencies provided. We've had desktop drills. We've had simulation drills with those agencies. So there is definitely an oil spill response plan in those kinds of events.
And the specific question that was asked was, I mean, we're familiar with booms and other absorbent things, you know, when we see spills in the harbor. Is that, I thought I heard Mr. Miller say that there's a boom, there's a vessel with a boom out there now. And is that also available in that kind of technology or?
Yeah, as part of that plan, we identify a lead contractor for the spill response. So if there were a spill, you know, they would be contacted and they would be brought in to bring booms or whatever the appropriate measures are for whatever kind of spill it is, whatever kind of volume it is.
Okay, and I'll make this as a statement. I've made a lot of statements about what we expect from you guys going forward, but clearly, if an incident of any kind happens out there, we are in the line of fire here with the prevailing winds and prevailing tides. And so communication and notification so that we can do emergency response locally to the best of our ability. We realize we're 30 miles out to sea and getting here doesn't happen in 15 minutes, but we need to know if we're going to get ahead of incidents in the future. And I'm just going to reiterate that for the community. You don't need to respond to it. I'm just underlining it again. Okay. Dan, you've already spoken. Okay. Oh, do you want to finish something? Okay. Dan, I'm going to ask you to circle. Emily has not spoken yet, so she's going to go ahead of you. And I'm going to let, I'm sorry, your name again, I'm sorry.
My name's Jen Cullen. I'm with the project. I'm not a Nantucket resident. I am a Cape resident. I'm from the Cape. I've been working with the project for many years. I just wanted to respond to there were a couple questions from the last couple speakers about the monitoring and it not being, or I'm sorry, the modeling, it not being entirely accurate. We know that modeling is our our best guess based on factors on where things are going to land. However, we are really encouraging everyone to call in the material if it is seen on the beaches, to let us know so that we can deploy those crews. We had over 35 people out there today. Mike and I were kind of running point on taking in information and then deploying it out to the crews so that we could identify and locate them in the right places. Sean and his team with Robert Biauer were out there. The harbor master and her team have been fantastic in feeding us information so that we can respond in as close to real time as possible. In regards to Tucker Neck and Muskeget and some of the other places, we are actively seeking how we are going to get in there and remove what debris is there based off of what best information we can get on the kind of material that may have landed there, the size of it and the equipment that may be needed. So again, I'd really encourage and appreciate any incoming information about what's going on out there so that we can process it and respond in as real time as possible.
Okay. Thanks, Jen. Emily.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Emily Molden, Executive Director of the Nantucket Land and Water Council. First of all, thank you for facilitating this opportunity for community comment and questions tonight. A lot has already been said. Certainly, I think the impacts and implications of this incident are still unclear. We have reached out to the Natural Resources Department, and I will follow up with them to see if there's a way that we can assist or be supportive with follow-ups on water quality impacts or other environmental implications. I think the one point that I wanted to just add is sort of more of a request maybe to Vineyard Wind, and it has to do with the PR response and the information that is being communicated. There's already been some discussion around the idea of whether these materials are toxic, but at least as it was cited in a couple of our local media outlets, the initial response also included a message that these materials were not hazardous to people in the environment. And I think that that's a questionable assessment at best. And I think that regardless of whether there's any intentional or unintentional downplaying of this scenario, I would just ask that that really be carefully considered, because I think that it ultimately could just serve to create greater risk to our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. Okay, so I believe everyone who's standing up has already spoken. I have John Borden. We asked him, are you back, John?
I am. Can you hear me, Madam Chair?
Yes, John, go ahead.
Oh, thank God. Anyway, thank you for hearing me. I understand that this is sort of a Nantucket issue. However, it truly is not solely a Nantucket issue, but it's an entire issue for the Eastern Seaboard. Offshore wind is not something that we can embrace, nor we need to experiment with. Sorry, I have a thunderstorm going on. I'd like to sort of clarify who I am and why I'm speaking. I am a commercial fisherman and have been for 45 years. I have fished out of Nantucket, Point Judith, Newport, Rhode Island, Hyannis, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I have fished the entire Eastern Seaboard practically, but I have seen a lot of changes and cycles and things that make sense and things that don't make sense. And as far as I'm concerned, offshore wind does not make sense. There are approximately 85 cetaceans, large whales, that have been shown up dead because of something unknown, which all of us that are out to sea know that this is because of offshore wind. There are other ramifications that come into this because of the unknown, and that's the whole big deal. This is not an experiment to take lightly. These blades, someone from I believe it was the representative from GE, but said that this is the same as building boats. I have a fiberglass boat. We don't use bisphenol A in building fiberglass boats. They do use it in the production of the blades. That is a forever chemical. That's a PFA. That is something that you don't want in the food column. And when that degrades, that goes into the water column, the forage fish eat it, and it gets transmitted into the whole system, and we eat it. That's not good. There's so many things about this that should not happen. And I don't think Nantucket, I don't think Massachusetts, New England, anybody should be the experiment for this. I'm sorry, but that's just my opinion, but I have some pretty good experience in this, so I would like the audience to understand that this is not going to be good for anybody. It's just a money grab for foreign companies, by the way, and nobody in the U.S. is going to benefit from this. Thank you.
Mr. Borden, thank you. Right on 3 minutes. Congratulations. Okay, Jack Coleman online.
Yes, I've got just really a question. The advisory was it's okay to swim, but if you're walking on the beach to wear shoes and no animals allowed on the beach. Can someone please let me know who made that decision and how we square that circle? How is it safer to be in the water and more unsafe on land and having to wear shoes? I don't know what the dickens is going on here, but it's extremely confusing, and I'd just like an explanation if it could. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jack. Is anyone here from the town? Sheila, I'm kind of looking at you. Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Sheila.
Hi, I'm Sheila Lucy. I'm the harbor master. The reason that we made that decision about opening the water to swimming was because our fear in the swimming was the large pieces of floating debris. We're afraid that somebody was going to get hit in the head with that, or something worse, or get impaled. So once the big pieces were gone and we weren't so worried about somebody getting hit with a piece of floating debris, we opened the water back up to swimming. And it was a recommendation to wear footwear in case there was some shards on the beach, so people didn't cut their feet and their dogs didn't cut their paws. That's all.
All right, thanks, Sheila. Okay, Charlotte Duhamel, online.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for having this meeting. I appreciate it. Sorry I came in late. I didn't know if anyone had addressed the issue of how baleen whales feed on the surface of the ocean and the concerns of pieces of fiberglass getting into the whales and other animals that skim the surface of the water, and how much money is set aside for harm to the whales and other fish and marine life that we will find later on that will be harmed, as we saw this study that came out today in Salon about fiberglass being found in mussels and oysters along the coast. And clearly it's not just Nantucket that's affected. The currents could bring these shards and other contaminants all the way down to the coast of New Jersey. You don't need to answer. Those are some concerns that I have.
Yep, thank you, Charlotte. We have asked Vineyard Wind to respond to the impact on marine life. So they have agreed to get back to us on that. Okay, Chris Monahan is the last first speaker.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I want to first applaud Megan Lapp's statement, all the fishermen and all the residents who have expressed their opposition and concern. I'm a Long Island resident and fighting our own David and Goliath style fight with Vineyard's cohort, Equinor. And I want to just kick off my statement by saying this whole thing is unacceptable. It's unacceptable for Vineyard, GE, Avangrid, and CIP to say this is not experimental. We don't have any large-scale offshore wind projects here. This is not the North Sea. This is the Atlantic East Coast, not the same thing. Block Island project is a tiny boutique of a project that cannot be considered as a real wind project. I want to say it's unacceptable for Vineyard to be self-regulating themselves. No third-party due diligence or oversight. It's unacceptable that we are not taking a zero tolerance for this. It's unacceptable that we're seeing lifeguards and residents, local lifeguards and residents, doing this cleanup. That's crazy. In regard to the debris being discovered on the beach, that's the only debris that's being discovered. What mitigation efforts are there that's being conducted out in the ocean, or what are they? How are they being transparent? I don't believe they're being transparent enough. Vineyard is going to kick off a project, a local project by us. They're in their community engagement stage in our local area. And there's no easy way to say it, but they're doing a terrible job. And I want to also speak out about the conflicted environmental groups. And a lot of them actually do happen to be in the New England area. It's unacceptable that these organizations that are supposed to be protecting our environment, our residents, our beaches, our marine life, they've all received hefty donations. The Mystic Aquarium, New England Aquarium, Woods Hole, Environmental League of Massachusetts, Nature of Conservancy. This is, again, unacceptable. And I want to thank you for allowing me to make my statement.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we are now at the point where everyone who has spoken once has spoken. So I did promise to allow people to come back to the mic and finish their comments. I please implore you, it's 8:30 and we do have other agenda items to complete tonight. So as much as you cannot repeat what is already said and be as brief as possible, I would very much appreciate it. Go ahead, Dan.
I'd like to shed light on, I spoke to a property owner on Tuckernuck today, and there is debris on the south shore of Tuckernuck, quite a bit, just so you know that. I don't know about Muskegon, but Tuckernuck's loaded with it. I wish Gavin was still here because I'd like to shed some light on the compensation that I've been offered by Vineyard Wind. I fish 800 lobster traps down in the very same area where these people are putting, as I call it, tombstones in. They've offered me and other people that can prove that we fished in that area 2 to 4% of my income per year. But to qualify for that, I have to give them several years of basically everything that involves my lobster business, records, everything. They want me to prove that I'm there. They want copies of my log books, my computer hard drive, bank statements, everything for 2 to 4%. The reason they're offering that is because they know they're displacing us. They know they're putting us out of business. So of that 2 to 4%, it's taxable income. I'm supposed to give a percentage to the people that worked on my boat at the time of that happening. So their compensation package, when they're all done and said, is approximately $2,000 to $4,000 that they're willing to give to fishermen who can prove that they've made their livelihood there. 2 to 4%, that's an insult. It costs more money to fly clouts here in a helicopter this afternoon because I watched it come in on the AIS for helicopters. Okay. Yeah. But anyways, that's what they're offering. So
okay.
Good
Thanks,
luck
Dan.
getting any money out of them for lost revenue on the island.
Okay, thank you, Dan. I'm going to go to, actually, Amy, go ahead, and then I'll go online again.
Okay, and thank you I appreciate you letting us continue to finish our statements. The reason that I keep hammering away at this good neighbor agreement is because the town is under the understanding that you must support these projects at every level of government. It's what the good neighbor agreement says. And whether or not that's a legal document or a legal, a binding argument legally, I don't know the answer to that. But the document says that you support these projects at the local, state, and federal levels. So the reason we want you to break it isn't because it's going to stop the projects, which is what we were saying earlier. It's so that you can advocate essentially properly and that you can push back. As selectmen, your duty is to the voters here. It is not to a foreign energy company. It's to the residents, to the business owners, the voters, and to this community. And so I really urge you to walk away. What I was saying in my questions before, I'll just, the first one that I was saying is that you should just really ask the question about your attorneys. They put you into a contract that gives you more risk and less reward. Those were the first 2 points, and I'll email this to Erica if you would like. But it also seems widely understood that your attorneys are paid on a contingency basis. I think someone mentioned that. So they get paid only if each of these subsequent projects closes. That's how the attorneys get paid. So I would suggest that they are potentially conflicted here in terms of giving you proper advice and saying, break the agreement, walk away, this is bad for Nantucket. They don't get paid unless you get paid. And lastly, I guess I just was saying that they are conflicted. I would also think the community deserves to understand what the arrangement is. I know that Vineyard Wind paid a $4 million payment, and all of that money was never accounted for, or we assume Vineyard Wind, that was what the agreement said, made a $4 million payment. But in any of the press releases I've seen, there's never been a $4 million accounting. So what percentage does Cultural Heritage Partners get? My understanding from other municipalities is that they would walk away with more than a quarter of it. So I think they get a lot of money, and I don't think they're giving us very good advice. So I would suggest we walk away from this agreement and hire some attorneys who will actually help us advocate for Nantucket, and not attorneys that feature windmills on their homepage. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Okay. I do. I'm going to skip down to the new voices. Mary Warrow.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Mary.
Yes. Thank you, Brooke. I'm glad to be following up on the previous speaker because I have a couple of questions about the Good Neighbor Agreement as well. Specifically, I read in the reports that the Vineyard Wind was going to work with the town and allow the town to pursue any a remedy for any damages that that occurred as a result of this incident. And I was a little surprised at that because for two reasons. One, under our Constitution, Amendment number 7, we have, everyone here has a right to a jury trial in civil cases where the amount in controversy is over $20. So it isn't Vineyard Wind that is allowing us to pursue rights and remedies under this agreement. And then I went to the actual agreement and I found two clauses that I found very troubling. One was Section 9, which is the waiver of a jury trial, and all the parties to this agreement have waived their rights to a jury trial. So they've waived all their constitutional rights that exist under Amendment 7 to the Constitution, which I find surprising that any attorney acting in the best interests of the municipality would have advised that should be included and advised that's the way it would work. And I don't know whether town council approved that or not, but I'm certainly curious to know what the town council's opinion is. The second issue that I had is with Section 7 of the Good Neighbor Agreement, which sort of casts a pall of confidentiality. And it's a relatively standard agreement, I believe, in types of negotiations. But for a municipality, particularly a municipality which prides itself on being transparent, the provision instead says that all communications pertaining to the negotiation about the formulation of this agreement are deemed confidential. And that if there are exceptions for certain legal reasons, But one of the provisions also allows that if people, people who are seeking public records public records requests, responses, or other access to the materials that were transmitted about the negotiation for this agreement.
Mary,
Yeah.
you've reached 3 minutes.
One second. I'm talking about the Good Neighbor Agreement of August 2020.
Okay. Thank you.
And
Mary,
there's some real.
I've been holding people to 3 minutes, okay? Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Greg, did you want to respond?
Yes, please.
Okay. Just let everybody know who you are, please.
Yep. Trying to remove the video. There we go. Greg Werkheiser, Cultural Heritage Partners, a special counsel to the town for a number of years now on offshore wind matters. I wanted to just address the 2 points that were made because they're respectfully to Mary who just spoke, they're a misreading of the legal document. There's nothing in the Good Neighbor Agreement that prevents the town or any individual in the town or any nonprofit in the town or any organization in the town from seeking recovery for any tort. So if there's any damage or economic damage or personal injury, there's no waiver of the opportunity to seek compensation for that. No rights have been waived in that context. And with respect to confidentiality, the point has been made multiple times in multiple fora that this was a quote unquote backroom deal. There is not a single agreement that we can find anywhere in the United States between any community and any developer, offshore or onshore, where the agreement is negotiated by the entire town. It is negotiated in every instance that we can find, including in Nantucket, by a group designated by the elected officials, sometimes including elected officials and legal counsel. So I've heard repeatedly the suggestion that this is some unusual thing that's occurred. In fact, the opposite is true. It is the general policy of every municipality to, whenever they're negotiating contracts, to designate a committee to do that. It's every provision of every contract is not, as you can imagine, negotiated by everybody in town. That would make the ability to make progress on behalf of municipal governments virtually impossible. So we can all certainly disagree as to whether or not every provision in this contract is should make everyone happy. But those 2 points in particular, I want to reiterate. There is nothing waiving the ability of the town or any individual in the town to seek whatever compensation they feel is necessary and that they can establish.
Okay.
And if there's
Thanks,
any
Greg.
questions, I'll take those. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to ask everybody that they refrain from adjudicating the Good Neighbor Agreement tonight. The purpose of this meeting tonight really was to talk about the crisis at hand, which is the debris and the incident. And we could be here all night discussing the Good Neighbor Agreement. So if anyone online is planning to speak on that, if you could lower your hand, that would be great. I am looking to wrap this up. Honestly, it's 8:45. And I did make a commitment to let the community speak about this incident. I have been notified by Vineyard Wind that we have information about what's happening at the turbine now. Are you guys prepared to make a statement? Sorry, you just took a snack.
Jen, go to the mic.
Yep, you have to go to the mic. And I will reiterate again, this is an ongoing incident, ongoing crisis, and circumstances are changing minute by minute and hour by hour. And so I'm going to ask Jen to let us know what we know now, please.
And I apologize. I've just gotten the same notification that we have news
understand.
coming, but I don't have what it is quite yet.
Okay.
I've said, please send it ASAP because it looks like we are coming to the end of this and we want to make sure we give everyone the latest. So if we want to give a few more comments, or I defer to you, Chair, on how you want to handle this.
Okay.
I will let you know as soon as we get it in.
Okay. All right. Great. I am really tired, so bear with me. Okay, Suzanne?
Yes. Suzanne Girardi, I just wanted to formally request a material safety data sheet for the products and materials that are in the blades.
Okay.
I would think that they should have that available, at least in the US, we have that. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Suzanne. Okay. Roberta Mock online?
Hi, Roberta Mock. I live in Hyannis and have been fighting this since I'm completely opposed to this wind farm. But I have a question about the debris, since this is what the meeting is about. I want to make sure that none of this debris ends up in any landfill of Cape Cod. And my question to Avangrid is, I'm sure you've had this happen in the past. I want some transparency as to how the product is recycled, and what happens. Where do you have bags and bags of, I've seen online pictures of a lot of this junk that's basically where we from where we eat our food. Our critically endangered migratory wildlife is endangered by all of this, and it's passionately against this. But I want some transparency. Okay, so if it doesn't go into landfill, does it go to Spain? Where does it go? I want to know what happens with this. I really want to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is Vineyard Wind prepared to answer that question?
I mean, at this point, as Klaus said earlier, the materials all being handled by the federal agency that's looking into some of the causes and the impacts of the material. And so unfortunately, at this point, I don't have an answer on exactly where it will be disposed of or how it will be handled, but we can get back with that information once we know more.
I can say from Nantucket's point of view, 0 of this waste goes into our landfill based on our waste management policies that already exist. The only thing that goes in our landfill cells is residuals from the composter. So as long as our community members are not putting this in their compostable waste stream that they either send with their hauler or bring to the dump, none of this will end up in our landfill. So again, I'm going to keep repeating this. I implore the community members not to put this stuff in your trash, to notify the people handling the cleanup to come collect it, regardless of its size. So, and there's multiple reasons why that is, not the least of which is we want to ensure this does not end up inadvertently affecting the situation at our landfill. So, okay. Quickly, please.
I just want to thank our DPW, the Harbor Master, and the Natural Resources Department, who are the people that this is going to fall on. These are the people that are going to have to fix this for Nantucket. I don't think we can count on Vineyard Wind to do very much. As evidenced by the, Veronica Bonet, sorry. As evidenced by the lack of preparedness by this company, there is no reason to believe it has Nantucket's best interest at heart. One area that Vineyard Wind has been prepared in the aftermath of this is prepared statements to the media that do not match the reality of what we are seeing on Nantucket. I read in the New York Times, Boston Globe, and others yesterday morning that Vineyard Wind had dispatched cleanup teams and that the incident was contained. I guess they didn't count on the tenacity of the Nantucket Current to report the facts. Vineyard Wind's claims they are well regulated. However, they are allowed to self-monitor. They claim to have detailed disaster plans, but they seem to be learning on the job. I implore the Select Board to appoint a strong team on Nantucket to deal with this mess. The town administration can rise to this occasion. This foreign company is not going to get it done. It is also time for other conservation groups on island, the Conservation Foundation, Linda Loring, and the Land Bank, to stop playing hot potato with this political issue of offshore wind and play the role they are expected to do in conserving and protecting this special place.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we are now at 10 to 9. We've been at this for a number of hours. I've got a bunch of new hands coming up online. I am sorry, I'm not, I'd
like to say 10 words.
Okay. I am going to go down to Noah Singer online, and anyone who raised their hand after Noah Singer, I'm going to end public comment after that. Go ahead, Chris, 10 words.
I'd just like to say 10 words. I'd like to say thank you. I think you did a really great job tonight under trying circumstances, and on behalf of everybody here tonight and those watching, I think you did a hell of a good job tonight, and thank you.
Oh, thank you. I didn't expect that at all.
May I make a suggestion?
Sure.
If we're waiting on a pending statement, could we move on to the other items on the agenda until they're ready? Because I think people are going to want to hear that and might have a comment after.
How does the board feel about that?
Since there's a bunch of hands up.
So I want to say to Cliff Carroll, Lori DeFosse, and David Callahan, and Jennifer Seraphin, I have stated that the public comments I'm going to take so far are Anastasia Lennon, Diane Coombs, Roberta just spoke, Chris Monahan, and Noah Singer. And how does the board feel about moving forward? I want to consider postponing agenda items. I think we should discuss where we're at this hour in the evening, both in our ability to comprehend what's being presented to us. And I'm sorry, Christy, who's our housing director, who's been sitting here through all of this. Christy, do you want to go? Do you need to go? Okay. Okay, terrific. Erica, your hand was up too.
I was just going to say that if you're going to postpone the public hearing, just please make sure you open the hearing and vote to continue it to a date certain.
The public,
the
sewer? Yes, gotcha. Sorry,
that people
guys.
have been waiting on for that too.
Yeah, okay. All right. Help from the board on how to manage this. This is my first
Madam
rodeo
Chair,
at this level.
Suggestion, comment.
Okay.
When I think, again, the housing report can be postponed. My only question about the sewer, since it is we're coming up to
I think we have to do it.
I think we have to do it because of timing, is that correct?
Yes.
We can't
Town meeting
postpone that?
timing. Yeah.
Because of the town meeting.
Erica, can you help me with the town
Is
meeting
1 week a
timeline?
problem?
Hmm?
Is 1 week an issue?
I'm going to have Erica
let me just look
investigate
at
the
the
special
schedule
town meeting
real
timeline,
quick.
make sure we're not putting other boards' meetings in jeopardy in their ability to address these.
You
the
are
sewer.
scheduled to adopt the warrant on Wednesday, August 7th. You have a joint meeting with the Finance Committee and the Planning Board regarding motions on the 29th. So I think, I think if you postpone it till next week,
okay,
that should be okay.
Is that the pleasure of the board?
It would be my pleasure. I really don't want to eat breakfast here, man.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Do we open the public hearing and then make a motion to continue?
So I am going to hold the Vineyard Wind item for the moment. Apologies to folks online. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes, warrants, and pending contracts. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Can't get it done fast
I'll
enough.
say Malcolm and Don.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That's unanimous. Okay. Christy, why don't you come forward and thank you for hanging in with us.
Thank you. So I'm before you tonight to request the Select Board approval of a letter to be sent to the Joint Committee that's reviewing the Affordable Homes Act. I've been in front of you many times since October about the Affordable Homes Act. It's the bond bill that's in front of the state. There's currently a version that was put forth by the House and one that was put forth by the Senate, and this committee is reconciling the two versions. There's a very important aspect in the Senate bill that includes the seasonal communities designation that we've been discussing for the last several months. This will include new tools for the island and a potential funding source for affordable and attainable housing. So in your packet, you have the letter that's drafted, and I'm requesting a motion to approve this letter to be sent on behalf of the Select Board, and also to encourage our community members to also write in. Everything is on the Affordable Housing Trust's website. There's a testimony template, and it's 6 email addresses that it needs to be sent to, and you can send it all in one email, and encouraging everybody to write in as soon as possible because they are debating it this week.
Thanks, Christy. Any questions?
Madam Chair, motion to approve the letter. I think it's terrific.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 And that is unanimous. Thanks, Christy. Okay. We are going to open the public hearing on for the Nantucket Sewer Commission to consider amendments to Nantucket Town Sewer District pursuant to Section 10 of the Nantucket Sewer Act regarding Articles 13, 14, and 15 of the September 17th, 2024 special town meeting. I'm requesting a motion to continue the hearing until next Wednesday.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Wednesday, the 24th.
Wednesday, date certain, the 24th.
Second.
Okay. Malcolm, Matt, I was going to say by roll call, but we don't need to do that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that is unanimous, and so we'll put that on next week. And my apologies to anyone online who was waiting for that item. It was hard to know.
And we're deferring the housing?
And we're going to defer.
Do we know till when, or, I mean, it doesn't matter, we can put it on the
Let's
next
reschedule
available.
with Christy and with her thanks for, again, I keep saying that. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Vineyard Wind, or do you guys have any more information for us?
The statement just came in. I haven't even had a chance to read it through myself, so bear with me. I appreciate that. This evening, there was an observed compromise to the integrity of the GE Vernova blade. While the blade remains attached to the turbine, we believe there is an increased possibility it could detach soon. There has been a 500-meter safety zone implemented around the turbine and GE Vernova blade since Saturday night, and it has been under constant surveillance. We've mobilized our response team and have also witnessed new debris enter the water. Vineyard Wind is in the process of notifying the U.S. Coast Guard, the Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement, the National Response Center, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, tribal nations, regional emergency planning committees for Dukes County and Barnstable counties, the town of Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, and surrounding coastal communities. Vineyard Wind will continue to coordinate closely with its state, federal, local, and tribal partners to respond to this evolving situation while continuing to prioritize the safety of its personnel, its contractors, the environment, and communities.
So I have one question. My understanding is that there is a boom of some sort out there in the vicinity. Will that be deployed, and is it possible it will be effective in containing debris? And if you don't have an answer to that, let us know ASAP, please.
The boom is being deployed imminently. I cannot answer its
As to its
sufficiency.
efficacy. Okay, all right, great, thank you. So just, again, it's 9:00 p.m. We will do our best to stay on top of this. And I want to implore Vineyard Wind, I realize it's dark now, but tracking this debris on its inevitable way here, if it comes outside that zone, we need to know immediately the direction it's heading and the ETA of it arriving here, because I'm not deploying town employees again. I realize you have people here now, but just, I know you're hearing me, but I just want to say it as emphatically as I can. Notice immediately when you have information, regardless of the time of night. I may not be awake to receive it, but I want it when I wake up at 5:30 tomorrow morning, if that's what I do, okay? Thank you. Again, I'm going to take comments from Ms. Lennon, Ms. Coombs, Ms. Mock, Ms. Monahan, and Mr. Singer, and then I'm going to close public comment on this topic. So go ahead, Ms. Lennon, online. Erica's going to allow you to unmute.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Please be brief.
Yep. So with your recent statement, if the blade were to detach in an uncontrolled manner, could that threaten the structure as a whole? Could it damage the nacelle and require replacement for that? And second, can you just provide more clarification on what the suspension order from Bessie, the conditions for that, and what conditions need to be met by Vineyard Wind in order for operations and construction to resume?
I'd actually defer to GE on both of those questions.
Gentlemen?
They're still available.
Yeah, the first one, what we see is the remaining portion of the blade coming down, which is due to the self weight itself, and which is normal, but we don't see that impacting on the nacelle. But we will monitor the situation and then respond back. But it is the remaining portion of the blade which is getting detached, and due to the gravity as well as the wind, and that is what we expected to happen. But it is not around the nacelle, so there is no impact on the nacelle. We will have to see if there is any brush mark on any other components while it is moving with the wind.
Okay, so again, I just want to make sure I've understood you. The detachment of this blade should not impact the structure of the turbine. Is that what you've said?
That is correct.
Okay, great. And then I'm sorry, Ms. Lennon, your second question?
Yeah, I'm happy to repeat. So just the suspension order with Bessie, what conditions need to be met by Vineyard Wind and GE in order for the project to resume construction and operations at the site?
Yeah, thank you. Who wants to, I guess GE will answer that again? Or Vineyard, hot potato?
I mean, is the suspension order issued to Vineyard Wind or GE or both?
I don't have the specifics on that. Oh, here comes Mike. He knows.
Okay.
The order was issued to Vineyard Wind.
Okay.
I don't have all the specifics, but one of the conditions was to provide a root cause analysis to Bessie, so.
Before you resume operations? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Diane Coombs?
My statement is, which I didn't mention before, is I was for the last 4 years the HCC representative that sat on this board. And I tried every time that I went to get BOEM to answer my questions, which was about having the turbines out where they were and when they moved and what the view was and all that stuff. And I was told continually, and Holly was there too to listen. I got no answer. Oh, I don't know. We'll get back to you. We don't know what the thing is. It's continually. So just a warning that when they say they're going to do something, or BOEM says it's going to do something, have it in certified writing, because otherwise they are not going to answer us. That I have found in 4 years trying to get answers. So that's all. Thank you very much for today.
Okay,
good job.
You, Diane. Thank you, Diane. Roberta?
Hi, my other thought, I have many, but I just want to be brief, is, are the ratepayers, at risk here? I know Avangrid, I was up in Rochester, New York, where somehow these people were getting electric bills for $2,000 a month. I just want to be protected. I know I can't afford my electric to go up because of incidents like this. Covered by insurance, or are the ratepayers at risk of covering this expense that just happened?
Okay. I don't know. who would be the appropriate person to even answer that question. So we'll take your question under advisement, and we'll seek an answer for it. Chris Monahan?
Hi, thank you again. My previous statement was a bit rushed. I wasn't prepared, but I want to expand on it. I want to say that the environmental organizations that I mentioned that received big wind donations, I want to just emphasize we do have the receipts. Care of Save Right Whales coalitions. I also want to say that we should have zero tolerance for error and the self-regulating. We cannot have the fox guarding the hen house. I want to expand on another comment made previously about the turbines containing these toxic chemicals. In addition to the petroleum, there's bisphenol, highly toxic, and good old oil, which is not really moving away from fossil fuels, right? I want to mention that the decommissioning plans are non-existent, and that's reflected on utilizing our own local resources to help Vineyard do this damage control. This is unacceptably disgraceful. When I see footage of kids, basically lifeguards and residents, removing iceberg-sized fiberglass chunks.
Okay, it sounds like we're covering covered territory now, so thank you, Chris. And I'm going to move on to our final commenter, Noah Singer, for a second opportunity. Thank you for waiting for said opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you
And
guys for
then
doing.
for the others, just for the others, this will be the end of public comment.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for doing this again tonight. I know you guys are putting in a long shift. I have a question for the GE team. As a part of your research and development for your for the wind turbines, have you guys done trials on what happens if material enters the water and how it breaks up over time, the buoyancy of this material? If so, can you share that data with the board and with the community? And then lastly, I urge the select board again to go through NRD to really try and get onto water quality testing in the area. We have a limited window to really see what is in the water. And if we wait even a day or two longer, we're going to miss our window to be able to conduct adequate water quality testing. Thank you guys for doing this tonight. I know it's been a long night.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Noah. Does the GE team have any question about whether you did any studies on the impact or what happens to this material?
Yeah, I do not have the information on the buoyancy test done on the debris at this moment. We will get back on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to everyone in the public who came out tonight to speak their piece, to ask their questions. And I think I speak for this entire board that we will continue to monitor this closely and do everything in our power to hold Vineyard Wind accountable for the impacts of this disaster, really. I've been calling it an incident, but it feels like more than that in terms of how it's impacting the feelings of safety and in this community. And I hope you guys are hearing that. And again, I will reiterate one last time, as soon as you know something, share it with us so we can plan. And reassure our community that we are in the know on this. I'm sorry, I'm. Are they running right now, or are they not? No, I'm sorry. You've came to the meeting late. That was covered early. Excuse me. Voluntarily, they shut down the entire wind farm, and then it was followed up by a federal requirement that they do so until they do a root cause analysis, which it sounds to me, the one on the other incident in Europe is not even completed yet, and that was months ago. So we are not at risk of this wind farm being turned on imminently. And by the way, let us know if you have permission to do so, we want to know. We want to know everything. And I think I'm saying that on behalf of all of us. And we do appreciate your coming tonight and listening to us, answering the questions that you were able to. And I know Erica takes great notes, and we will make sure to follow up on the as yet unanswered questions and make sure that that information is forthcoming to our community as we process this locally. And frankly, as we heard from people not from Nantucket, the concerns are much broader than on our shores. We will take the lead on making sure that information is forthcoming for the entire region. And again, I want to thank everybody in this community who has responded to this emergency. I want to make one clarifying thing. The DPW has not participated in this cleanup. There was some confusion that Robert B. Hour's equipment and people were confused to be DPW. But especially the lifeguards, Sheila and her team, all first responders, everybody who has participated in this. And unless anyone else on the board has a comment, I will reiterate, as we've done numerous times, do not pick this material up. Do not put it in your household trash. Use the notification tool to let the people who are collecting this material do so in a safe manner. And thanks, everybody, for coming to the meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everybody. Good night.